Hello, friends and bees and friends who are also bees. Welcome to this week's Indie Thursday stream. This week we are starting the last chapter of the Higurashi question arcs with Himatsubushi, which I'm pretty certain I've been saying wrong for the last week, and it's because my brain is garbage. Himatsubushi is a bit shorter than the previous games, and it's sort of the last of the question arcs, but it also acts as sort of a prequel to the question arcs. It is set 5 years before the main game cycle that we are going through, and it is centered around Rika, but it's also about a bunch of things. I will be honest, I cannot remember it at all. I don't know if it was serialized in the manga arcs. If it was, I cannot remember it. So this is basically completely blind for me. I have absolutely no memory of this. Also, just as a warning, I haven't got my fan going at the moment, but there's a good chance I will have to turn it on soon because my computer has been on for the entire day, so about 12 hours at this point, and my living room is extremely warm and I am heating up like nobody's business. Should I have had the fan running earlier and turned it off now? Yes. Did I do that? No. Let's swap over to the GP, shall we? Also, I'd like to apologise. Once again, the first minute of this video is completely silent because once again, I forgot to get my music playing. As always, please let me know if it's too loud or too quiet. I suck at mixing audio, and every time we go to a new one of these, I have to remember what my audio settings were. Inevitably, I forget, and then I just get confused. Yeah, as always, I've turned the voices off because all that would happen is they'd read the dialogue in Japanese, and then I would have to read it again in English. So, good, my subtitles are going. So let's get started. Dum-dum. For you, the final mystery, time-killing chapter. I now entrust you with all the mysteries hidden within Higurashi when they cry. However comical it may be, if you've reached any conjecture that you have passed, then you have passed. This final novel is a meagre reward for you. Conjecture is impossible. You have the right to reject this story. Well, I have accidentally spoiled myself and remembered some things, but I won't comment on them. I hate that child laugh. It freaks me out every single time. Arkanti's choice of adding the console version. These choices result in dialogue changes that can lead to bad ends. Do you want to see these choices? Ooh, now here's a question. I think I'm going to go for this, prompt choices and highlight the correct answers, so that we can save and see the other, well, yeah, we'll do prompt choices and highlight the correct answers, and I'll probably look up the alternate ones off camera, see what the bad ends are. I'm giving myself the cheaters option because of who I am as a person. Who is this criminal, you ask? Don't we search for them in the story? Thank you for the resub, Pixie. It is very much appreciated.
17 months. Much love to you at Mochi Invasion.
Thank you. God, 17 months, isn't that crazy? Ugh. I missed all the dialogue because I got distracted by the fact that 17 months is a huge span of time. Okay, whatever. I'll find that another time. I'd misread the time and ended up arriving too early. I think it was just something about searching for a criminal. The schedule board flipped with a series of plaques. My flight to Sapporo was still a bit later on. I still had over an hour before boarding. Well, I might close my eyes for a bit on that bench over there then.
Hi, Chuck. It's John.
Thank you. It's appreciate. Maybe the fatigue from that was making me sleepy. Finding a suitable bench, I put my luggage on the seat next to me and settled down. Having a nap an hour before your flight is like risky business to me. Phew. I sighed like an old man. I'd hoped to stay young forever, but had become splendidly middle-aged. Apparently the rumour that even people in the latter half of their 20s experienced a decline in their physical strength wasn't a lie. Well, it's a matter of time, minute for me. It had been mind-numbingly busy at work lately, so I rarely had any time to myself. Might have been the first time I'd been able to enjoy a journey alone like this since I was a student. The reason behind this trip was to meet with an old friend. It was a bit strange to call him an old friend. In fact, it might be better to call him a bad one. After retiring a couple of years ago, he moved to Sapporo, his mother's hometown. His mother passed away soon after, and he is now peacefully enjoying his second lease on life. His name was Kurato Oishi. He was a former detective from the Primary Investigation Unit at the station in Okinomiya. To be honest, the only direct contact we ever had didn't last more than 3 days. After that, we exchanged New Year's cards but never met again. So this would be the first time meeting him in 7 years? In other words, we met 7 years ago. In 1978. There was something I just had to ask, to talk to him about concerning that time. To explain that, it was impossible not to recall the incident that happened back then. That kidnapping, the details and resolution of which were resigned to darkness. Also, it was impossible not to recall a certain mysterious girl. My name is Mamoru Akasaka. It was a year that had been strangely hot, even though it was only June. Flashback noises to early summer 1978. Goodbye, teacher. Okay, bye. Watch out for cars, and don't drop in at a friend's house along the way. Make sure you get your textbooks in order for tomorrow before you go to bed. Hello, TV Chris. How are you? I hope you're doing well. Or as well as can be at the moment. You have come just in time for the very beginning of this playthrough of Himatsubushi. I was 78, 98, 88 minus... I can't do basic maths. Jesus Christ, I was minus 17 in 78. Thank you for the follow, TV Chris. It is very much appreciated. You've come just in time. We literally just started, so all we know so far is that there is a policeman having a flashback. Shall do that now. Or I will do it after stream because so OBS is misbehaving. Clatter clatter. Ugh. You're aged like a fine cheese, Pixie, or indeed a fine wine. There are many things which only get better with age. Comparatively, I am a bowl of fruit that will inevitably rot soon. I don't think that was a compliment, but it was intended to be, so I hope you take it in the spirit it was intended. Definitely not, Pix. Definitely not. Oh, I missed that dialogue too. Yeah, OBS is misbehaving and it's a real pain in the ass for me to alt-tab when I'm streaming, so I will do it after stream. Hey now, didn't I tell you before? I already have one of those. I don't need any more. Unique high-pitched voice of youth. The energetic strill of the cicadas went completely unheard by their ears. Let me know if the game sound is too loud, by the way. I think I messed up. I hate mixing audio. I'm terrible at it. Which is not great, but hey, that's how it be. No worries, take care. Energetic shrill of the cicadas went completely unheard by their ears. Children, returning home from school, split off one by one from their groups of friends as they went through intersections of the residential area. 18 months, don't remind me, Pigs. Time goes by so quickly. As boils my brain, does that. Just a bit. Really does. As a whack. I was thinking actually this summer, it's coming up to 3 years since I started streaming, and I have no idea when I started streaming because I didn't think to keep that information. I just know that it would have been at some point in August, I think, August or July. Possibly. Let me get back to you on that one, Chris. Intersections in the residential area. Even though with several of them in a group as they left school, as they got close to their homes, the numbers dwindled. That's why the fewer friends you were walking home with acted as an indicator that you weren't much closer to your destination. Take care, have a good evening. Later, see ya. Yeah, see you tomorrow. I can't do different voices for all the young kids. I don't have the capability for that many voices in my tiny brain. finally parted ways with his last friend. A van was parked at a bend in the road. The window was open, the sound of the radio leaking outside. Must have been the news or something. For that reason, the three of them were arrested for traffic violations and obstruction of justice. Due to the protests against the Hinamazawa Dam project, resulting in bloodshed when clashing with riot police last month, things have only become more violent. The police are therefore taking precautions against radical activists, causing yet another incident. Radicalists? I feel like I should be able to do something like that. Last week, there was also direct confrontation with Minister Inugai on the steps of the Ministry of Construction. The boy's ears perked up at the mention of the name Inugai. At that moment, a man's face picked out suddenly from the window of the van. His behaviour was a little different than that of a man looking around to see if there's any more incoming traffic before he opened the door of his vehicle. His eyes meeting suddenly with the unfamiliar man, the boy panicked slightly. Nightingale, okay. Skylark, okay. They've secured the 2 blocks around us. We're good to go. The man in the passenger seat whispered quietly. Nodding in acknowledgement, the man opened the door and stood before the boy. You. Are you Toshiki Inugai? While asking that, the man peered at the boy's name tag. Toshiki Inugai. The name was written plainly there. Ugh. The phone rang for a third time. If he'd reached out, he could easily pick up the receiver. However, he was concerned if he picked it up before it had finished ringing once. Whoever was on the other line would think him a fairly cheap person. That's why he normally never picked up on the first ring, even though it was a worthless habit. Even he thought. His thinking was that there isn't much meaning in waiting for just 3 rings. Wouldn't waiting for 5 be alright? Was very much reality. His mind filled such trifling thoughts, he picked up the phone after the 3rd ring had finished, its reverb dampened by his actions. Yes? Hello? Hello? He knew that sometimes, due to a malfunction of the switchboard, calls didn't connect well. At those times, it was best to hang up and let the person on the other end call again. Thinking that, the moment he began to hang up the phone, he sensed that he was definitely connected after all. He felt the presence of the person on the other end of the line, keeping silent. Hello? There was no way they didn't hear his question. What was the meaning of this? It wasn't like he didn't know that people could use silent calls to harass others. However, he'd never received a call like that until today. Maybe he was just lucky before, but he didn't believe that he'd received such a call on this phone. There were no direct calls to or from this line. Everything had to go through an operator. Therefore, there was absolutely no way the call would be connected unless it was verified there was somebody else on the other end of the line. Oh no! Yeah. That's fair. Every so often the phone will ring in this game and it scares the shit out of me because I'm not expecting the sound. Also Pix, and I will say just this word, yikes! And leave it at that. That's why he didn't understand how to deal with the silent call, and instead settled into confusion. I don't know who you are, but if you have nothing to say, I'm going to hang up. Please call again some other time. Intending that to be a parting line, he made to slam down the receiver. It was at that moment the person on the other end spoke for the first time. Sorrows of mobile phones, you can't dramatically put a receiver down like you used to be able to. You didn't say who you were, so I was anxious. If you're not Minister Inugai, please hang up right away. He couldn't help but be surprised by the extremely strange voice on the other end of the line. Was there a human alive who could speak with this hoarse and metallic a voice? Not me! This was a voice he'd heard somewhere before. That was the kind of voice that was on those lowbrow documentaries that they'd use when they wanted to hide the identity of a speaker, wasn't it? The voice he was hearing over the line was exactly like that. Who are you? As I said, that's what I want to ask. Are you Minister Inugai? Inugai, hesitated to answer. Unable to discern the intent of this suspicious phone call, he had a vague feeling that something was off. He thought about hanging up the phone and asking the operator who initiated the hiccup call. However, he forced himself to restrain that urge and for the time being chose to state his name and listen. That's right. This is Inugai. I said my name, now you say yours. My name doesn't matter. First of all, let's begin by thinking about the situation you're in right now. Right now, you're sitting in your chair talking on the phone, yes? Then why don't you try opening the lower drawer to your right? Lowest drawer to the right of the minister's chair. There was a lock on it. Not enough to function as a safe, but nevertheless it was a drawer that contained some valuable things. That's why Inugai thought that the person wanted some of the important information contained within that drawer. Sorry, but I don't have any intention of opening that. I have no reason to follow orders from someone who won't even give me their name. If you don't open that drawer or hang up the phone, you'll most likely end up regretting that. What do you think about opening that drawer first? Inugai didn't like following orders from a suspicious person one bit. However, he was concerned about what the man said about regretting it, so he decided to open the drawer. Took the small key he kept stowed in his wallet and unlocked the drawer. His hand stopped right before he opened it. What if there was a bomb inside and it would explode if the drawer was opened? That delusion took a hold of him. He called that instinct and opened it. Did you do it? The thing that's in there, do you know what it is? This is... What is the meaning of this? Hey! Don't think there's any need for me to explain, is there? I'll give you some time, so please think about it a little. I'll contact you again later. Now then, pardon me. Hey! Wait! Hello? Hello? The call had already ended. That would not change, no matter how much he yelled at it. Even still, Inugai, without realising it, continued yelling into the receiver for a while. The drawer was still open. On top of the folders, crammed into the drawer, it lay there. Toshiki Inugai. Written in plain lettering on a grade schooler's name tag, just lying there. Enshrined there, completely out of place, as if it were cowering. This story is a work of fiction. Dun dun dun! Do you remember, Yuki? This picture? This is where I first proposed to you. That brief moment before you nodded back, you probably wouldn't know just how much it seemed like an eternity to me. Yes, I'd have never thought that amount of time could feel like an eternity. Compared to how long I had to wait for you to propose to me, it was... From the moment I met you until today. Compared to the time I spent since I was born, it might only be a brief period, but there were definitely precious, beautiful days that deserve to be called an eternity. That time continues even now. From now on, I wonder if it will be a boy, or maybe a girl? Either one is fine. Boy or girl, either way, it's living proof that we love each other. If it's a boy, we'll name it after you, Mamoru. If it's a girl, we'll put the Yuki from my name and hers. Thinking about names is so much fun that, in the end, we still haven't decided. There's still time to puzzle over it. Not that long of a time, actually. You see, Yuki, there's something I have to apologise for today. Yukie, it's about your job. Sorry. Looks like an annoying bit of work has come up. In the worst case, I might not be able to be there for the delivery. It's fine. You have a... I did not realise they were two different voices, and I am sorry for the confusion. I thought it was a monologue. Whoops. It's fine. You have a very important job. What you do protects the way we live. Compared to you, it's nothing. Okay, here we go. Do you remember there, Yuki? This picture. This is where I first proposed to you. The brief moment before you nodded back seemed like an eternity. I never would have thought that amount of time could feel like an eternity. Compared to how long I had to wait for you to propose to me, it was... From the moment I met you until today. Compared to the time I've since I was born, it might only be a brief period, but definitely precious, beautiful days that deserve to be called an eternity. One is fine. If it's a boy, we'll name it after you, Mamoru. Put the Yukie from my name and hers. Thinking about names is so much fun. You see, Yuki, there's something I have to apologise for today. It's about your job, sorry. It looks like an annoying bit of work has come up. Might not be an important job, it affects the way we live. Compared to you, it's nothing. Please, go ahead. When you return, I'll be waiting here with our child. Thank you. Also, I'm sorry. Please don't apologise. If you feel guilty about it, then you can just atone. If I atone that much, no matter how much money I have, it won't be enough. It's a joke. Now, go on. Thank you, pigs. I don't know about the wonderful, but I know about the disaster, Lamau. As I left the room, I bumped into an elderly man. It was Yukie's father. In other words, my father-in-law. Father, I didn't want to intrude, so I waited in the hall. I didn't mean to eavesdrop, but I heard. Go, Yukie is that kind of girl. No matter what happens, she doesn't want to hold you back. I've forced Yukie to give up on so many things. To put her through this during childbirth, such an important time of her life, I'm ashamed. For real they feel that way? When you're done with your work, make some time for Yukie. She'll be happier with that than you passing your work off onto someone else. Aw, Pixie! Thank you. I know full well you do important work. Be proud of what you do. Yukie is looking forward to your triumphant return. Yes. I jumped into the taxi that was waiting outside. Compared to the time when I first got here, the numbers on the phone meter had grown considerably. It seemed that the modest time Yuki and I had spent together wasn't so modest from an objective point of view. Sorry to keep you waiting. Go ahead. This is true. This is very true. No worries. Well then, off we go. Taxi jerked as it changed gears to accelerate, soon burying the hospital my wife was in behind a throng of buildings. If it was to end up as a really troublesome ordeal, I probably wouldn't be returning for quite some time. To call a rookie like me, and on top of that, one who's off duty, seemed that the Czech section chief was calling for all hands on deck. The veteran upper brass gathering on an emergency basis happened occasionally. This was the first time, though, that I experienced everyone gathering together like this. Whatever was happening, there was no doubt it was going to be something novel. Right when my wife was ready to give birth. My wife. If I wanted to spend the time to curse my misfortunes, I'd be here all day. Even the verdant ginkgo trees lining the streets that always brighten my mood seemed to lack some of their usual lustre. Eventually, the government office came into view. Briefly holding my breath, I let the feeling of tension course through my body once again. I had to remember the work I was doing was important, necessary, and difficult. I composed myself and sharpened my wit. Ready. The taxi stopped in front of the building. Kasumigaseki, Tokyo, Metropolitan Police Department, Public Safety Division. Chief, everyone's here. Akasaka, could you close the blinds? The blinds were usually closed when they needed to use a projector, if the discussion was going to contain some particularly disturbing content. The blinds closed with a satisfying sound, darkening the interior of the room. Immediately, the inside of the room was completely drained of the pleasant morning atmosphere, leaving behind only the cold illumination of the fluorescent lighting. After the supervisor ensured that everyone was present, he nodded to the section chief once again. With everybody on the edge of their seats, the chief stood up solemnly and began to give his report. Approximately 48 hours ago, the Minister of Construction's grandson, who was also the son of one of his staff leaders, is believed to have been kidnapped. It is believed that the minister, in an effort to resolve matters amicably, chose not to report the situation to the police and plans to accede to the demands imposed upon him. Seeing that approximately 48 hours earlier, Minister of Construction's grandson and those of his senior staff members were kidnapped. The reason why it was phrased that way was because the person in question didn't admit it had happened. Based on the results of surveillance conducted on the minister's residence, multiple suspicious phone calls from what is believed to be outside the city took place. The abducted child is said to be under treatment for some illness, but there's no trace of any hospital records or witnesses to such effect. Due to that and various other reasons, we believe without a doubt that a kidnapping has occurred. Here, they admitted the details that brought this incident to light. If you think about it a bit, that meant that before this incident happened, Minister's residence had been under surveillance already. I won't use the word spied upon. Of course, there wouldn't have been court approval for this, and it would have been very hard to explain to ordinary citizens. It was quite an effective method to catch wind of incidents like this before they got worse. Also, considering the political situation, it may not have been spying, it may have been watching over, given the political situation at the moment of violent protests against a planned dam project. I'd like for you to understand that dealing with these cases before they become a problem is the job of the Public Safety Division. Why is he just following their demands instead of reporting this to the police? The fact that a minister can't even trust the police, what is the world coming to? Seems the group of perpetrators demonstrated they have quite a high level of surveillance on the minister themselves when they conducted the kidnappings. Enough to give the minister pause before calling the police. We'll find out right away if you call the cops, more or less. So it's possible there's a mole close to the minister? Several of the higher-ranking members who seem to have experience with this kind of thing let out deep sighs. The goal of their perpetrators, their demands, as well as this entire incident, are as of yet unclear. But in any case, the possibility that this may grow to threaten national interest is extremely high. If the goal was simply to have the demands met for monetary gain, that would have been nice. However, if this was some politically motivated shake-up, things would get a lot more complicated. I'm having flashbacks to one of the Wallander books, where I'm pretty certain something very similar happened. By the way, if you oh, am I dropping frames? No, internet, don't go out now. If you haven't read or watched Wallander, I would recommend watching either of the Swedish versions, if you don't mind foreign language, or I'd recommend reading, they're probably available on audiobook. They are crime novels, but they are very, very good. And they're kind of horrifying, but not salacious, if that makes sense. They're one of it was one of the original Scandi dramas that got adapted into a BBC version, which is alright, but it does have Kenneth Branagh in the main role, but I think either one of the Swedish versions are superior, and it's not just because I'm a hipster, but it's also because I'm a hipster. Anyway, sorry for the aside, this is just reminding me a lot of that. Since we're not receiving any cooperation from the victim, that means we're not privy to any of the details of the threats or demands. Due to the fact that we believe there may be a mole involved in this incident, this investigation is highly classified. Only the people in this room are to know of this. Furthermore, as this case is our utmost priority, we'll be placing a hold on everybody's normal duties. Understood? Oh, Oh, I'm really sorry if I'm dropping frames or dying a bit. My net seems to be kicking off a little. The supervisor continued on, tactfully explaining our course of action. If this incident were to become public, it was possible that the minister's political life would be over. I'll spare you the explanation of how the rest of the dominoes would fall, but in the end, supporting the Diet would decline, followed by a no-confidence vote, a snap election, might even expand communist influences. In other words, we wanted to handle this delicately. Kawasaki and Seiki monitor communications from the minister and the child's residences 24/7, find out what the minister is doing, report anything that happens. Remaining members, investigate whatever is related to the case as assigned to your units. Focus your line of investigation on the commies, Reds, and Confeds. Don't discount the possibility of foreign involvement either. We've experienced one or two unamicable situations before. This, however, was the first time I've seen things get so hectic. Several sophisticated conversations were progressing without the involvement of a rookie like me. Didn't intend to be timid, but I couldn't hide my confusion at this unfamiliar situation. And cover that. As for Akasaka, snapped back to her learners upon hearing my name called. Yes. You investigate the environmental groups that petitioned the minister. Among them, there's that group protesting the Hinamizawa Dam project that made the papers. Make sure you investigate them thoroughly. I doubt this is the act of some citizen group, but we have to eliminate every possibility we can. Understood. So those opposed to the Hinamizawa Dam. Probably best if you go to the location personally. Get some information from the local authorities. They're a fairly radical organisation, so the public safety division there should have them marked for it as well. Understood. I'll head over there. Your wife, she's almost ready to give birth, isn't she? I apologise for the timing of all this, but I'm counting on your cooperation. We can't take our time with this, so we just have to brute force it with our boots to the ground. Yeah, I know. My wife hates to interfere with my work with her own circumstances anyway. Sorry, and thanks. So then, as for Kawasaki and Seiki, to help support your... I didn't want to take a business trip when my wife was about to give birth. My wife. Even if I was a little busy, as long as I was in Tokyo, I could head to the hospital right away. On assignment, though, that'd be difficult. Even so, I knew the work I was doing was important and fully understood that I was in no position to be so selfish. I'd have to make it up to my wife for having to be away at such an important time. My wife, Yuki, would probably forgive me with a smile. The only thing she could hate doing would be holding me back. My male ego, though, at least wished she would have tried to stop me. Sorry, Yuki. I don't mind if you always complain to our child that the father couldn't come to the hospital when they were born because he was too busy with work. Next day I took the bullet train to Nagoya, and from there transferred to the train to Exec Prefecture. Getting to my destination by land took several hours. If I was travelling by air in that amount of time, I could probably get as far as Hong Kong. Exec Prefecture was by no means close. I never sat in first class except for work, but whenever I did, the seat seemed stiff. Closing my eyes, I mentally reviewed the documents I read yesterday. The group under investigation, the Onagafuchi Defence Alliance. They were a group of residents opposed to the development proposed under the Hinamizawa Dam project. Local protests were quite heated and they were getting more radicalised. Even limited to what was written in the newspapers, there was bloodshed that occurred during a clash with riot police, interference with the dam construction, too many to count. A number of petitions, sit-ins and direct appeals to the relevant organisations were innumerable. As an extension of that, there was a direct appeal to the Minister of Construction the other day. This was the reason why we were investigating this group in the first place. The land that they lived on was going to be submerged, so it was no wonder they'd go into a frenzy over it. Even given that, though, could they really be capable of doing something like kidnapping the Minister of Construction's grandson in order to halt the project? Absolutely yes. From my take on it, I had serious doubts. This kidnapping plot was extremely sophisticated and complicated enough that it was believed there was some political backing. This wasn't something that could be pulled off by a group of local protesters. Well, just like the chief said, the plan was to eliminate all possibilities. While I'm in the XX Police's reference room taking my time investigating, the higher-ups of Tokyo would probably solve the case. Without my involvement entirely. Even if that was true, I couldn't regret being away from Tokyo while my wife was ready to give birth. This was work. There was really nothing that I could do. Bing bong. The announcement that we'd be arriving at our destination soon snapped me back to wakefulness. Gogura, except Prefecture, Prefectural Public Safety Division. The Onagafuchi Defence Alliance? Yeah, they've been quite active around here. Prefectural Public Safety Department already had the documents and a cup of tea ready and waiting for me. Short of it is, they're a group of residents opposed to the dam. Really, it's probably better to say that every resident living on the land that's going to be submerged is rising to action, though. Like the old saying, fight to the last, they're a determined and well-prepared lot. It'd be nice if they drew the line at just being a moderate residential organisation. Stack of papers they'd prepared for me in the document room was by no means thin. First, they were pretty much your average citizens' initiative, but ever since the incident with the riot police, they've really started to heat up. Now they've got violent mentality on top of growing increasingly radical. Oof. Oof. Violent organisations usually indicate ones that enforce their own ideology without regards to the democratic process. Breaking that down, many of these organisations held extreme left or revolutionary ideologies. Considering that, I couldn't help but be surprised that a citizens group would end up going this far. I'm not, actually, in the slightest. Radical citizens' movements happen occasionally. Seemed, however, that this group was nothing as trifling as that. Seemed that I would have to reconsider exactly what this Onagafuchi Defence Alliance was. The Defence Alliance demand, in other words, the withdrawal of the dam project. Go for it, Pixie. Feel free. How far would they go to have that demand met? Kidnapping of the minister's grandson was classified. Meant, of course, I couldn't tell the XX prefectural department about it either. As you know, there were arrests after last week's confrontation with Minister Inugai. There's enough reason to believe they could use legal means to assert their demands. Skimmed over the list of criminal records related to the Onagafuchi Defence Alliance recorded in their documents. Contents were all violent, not giving me the barest hint of a feeling that these people were trying to uphold the law. Could you give me a basic rundown of the types of illegal activities the Defence Alliance are engaging in? Chief opened up a manila envelope. Oh, it was 2064 read-only memories. Very, very good game. Absolutely 210% recommend. If you can catch it on sale, even if you can't catch it on sale and you can afford to pay full price, go for it. If not, if you can catch it on sale, I would really recommend it. It's a really good game. And if you like it, I would recommend Valhalla, which is spelled oddly. But if you just Google Valhalla game, it'll come up. Because Valhalla makes several references to 2064. And also, am I dying a bit? I believe the Red Strings Club makes some references to 2064, but I could be misremembering. There's a couple of these, like... Ooh, I would recommend that. I'm still waiting for the next chapter, but that's another one that, yeah, there's a lot of these, like, queer, futuristic cyberpunk indie games that are not exactly set in the same universe but make a lot of references to each other, and they're all very good. Just, you know, by the by. But yeah, the game that you're thinking of, Pix, is 2064 Read-Only Memories, and is a good game. Just make sure that you stay friends with Turing. I did a playthrough where I was Rita Turing and I felt awful the whole way through. Worth it though. To play the game, I mean, not to be Rita Turing, except for the achievement that you can get. The chief opened up a manila envelope, fished out several unorganised sheets and spread them out on the desk. It seems that raids on the construction site are the most common. At first, they were committing relatively petty crimes like cutting power cords, jamming locks, jammed, and breaking office windows by throwing rocks. Of course, what really happened first were things like demonstrations, sit-ins, and distributions of pamphlets, lively but democratic forms of protest. Then the demonstrators and police clashed, which started a riot, leading to numerous injuries and arrests. It was from then on that the defence ODA, like the name implies, began to take on a more demonic form of resistance. That's a reference to Onagafuchi being the demon swamp. Same. And they're such a good egg. Very cute, a good friend. Pippi, how about you? Full of knowledge about many things, very cute and a good friend. Sounds like a pixie to me. Did the ODA, like the name implies, began to take on a demonic form of resistance? If the raids... I'm sorry that I keep dropping frames, I think my net is going. Ugh. The raids were frequent. Didn't the local police up their patrols? Well, of course they were on full alert, but they were up against locals, you know? There wasn't much the police could do if they were sneaking around under the cover of darkness. Might as well label the entire map of Hinyamazawa village around the dam construction site enemy territory. No matter how alert the police were, the locals would just show them exactly how easy it was to sneak around. Actually, it was after the police upped security that the protesters started getting ever more extreme, as though they were being provoked. See here? Can you tell how things started to heat up? An office set on fire, Destruction of heavy construction equipment. Destruction? Couldn't have used explosives? No way. You see, they crammed the gas tanks full of sugar cubes. If they do that, it fouls the engines. Even in Japan, it seemed there have been people doing that to the vehicles of occupying forces right after the war. Compared to misdemeanors like breaking windows, it was extremely violent and aggressive. After being toyed around with to that extent, local police have completely lost face. The arson was a bit much. After that, the local police drastically increased the number of personnel they had stationed there around the clock. The raids on the construction site quieted down a bit after that. He used the words quieted down, but that was still smack dab in the middle of the list of crimes. After they found that attacking the site had become difficult, they started resorting to personal attacks. First people targeted were the construction workers. After that, there was silence. What was being described to me was a guerrilla war fought in the jungle. Threats and violence against the workers. Harsh words and harsher rocks were thrown. There's quite a list of accusations here, but there's not a whole lot of convictions. Of course not. First of all, there's no witnesses. Top of that, even if we identify the perpetrators, they have alibis coming out the woodwork. Huh? What do you mean by that? Take, for example, you're walking around Hinamazawa when a certain man stabs you with a knife. You remember the person clearly and even know his name and address. The knife doesn't have any fingerprints on it, and there's no other physical evidence. You'd think this would be a run-of-the-mill case of assault, wouldn't you? In Hinamazawa, though, it's a perfect crime. Everybody is. The entire village, they're all in on it. To protect the man who is the perpetrator, they'll get the story straight and prepare an alibi. To that end, they'll probably even forge some evidence. There's nothing they can do but put them on trial. Top of there not being any material evidence, though, people testify one after another to cover his side of the story. Any prosecutor would hesitate to file charges. Not sure about murder, but if it's something like opening a gash in someone's forehead with a thrown rock or leaving a bruise after hitting someone, even if you could single out the suspect, there's enough reasonable doubt not to convict. Also, hint for what was happening last week, or last time around, where the uncle was murdered. I don't know, I go backwards and forwards on it. I still go backwards and forwards on whether he was actually murdered. There's enough reasonable doubt not to convict. Every case is without doubt perpetrated by someone in Hamazawa, but they can't identify who. Even if they could figure out who it is, they're unable to obtain enough circumstantial evidence through due process. Villagers were all extremely well informed about this, and so the malicious, vicious, and tenacious personal attacks continued. I see some trickle on there. Victims can't have been okay with that, right? Couldn't they have filed for an appeal? Well, you see, about that, everybody on the inquest committee didn't want to get involved with something so troublesome. They won't stick their noses into anything related to Hinamazawa. The inquest committee is comprised of a random selection of local residents. In the event the prosecutor fails to get a conviction, they have the power to order a retrial. It's a system designed to assert the will of the people on the actions of expert prosecutors in the legal world. In this case, however, being composed of local residents has backfired. They don't want to get involved. Why is that? How do I explain this? Could say they're afraid, since it's a little special there. Special? Is it an outcast community? No, it's a little different from that. Just think of it as them as being afraid. It's a little hard to explain it just now. Oh, right, there's an easier way. Wiping his forehead with a handkerchief, he opened a file labelled as a list of members of the ODA. The power of the ODA, you see, is the fact that they count many people among their members who are influential in neighbouring areas. Could you take a look at this? I looked. What I saw startled me. Prefectural and Municipal Assembly members, staff members of the Chamber of Commerce, an executive of Business Association, an executive of Town Council Association, a PTA liaison. There were more than a few people with a lot of say both locally and in the neighbouring regions. Around here you could pretty much expect your actions to be observed by those against the dam project. If you said something in its support, who knows how it would work out to your disadvantage. In any case, every town in this area is being held by the throat by somebody from Hinamazawa. The list of Inquisition Committee members is undisclosed, isn't it? There has to be some measures in place to make sure they'd avoid retribution, no? Well, it is undisclosed, so the privacy is assured, but the person in charge of that is from the Okonomiya Municipal Office. In other words, a local. Where you might expect some professional confidentiality, you can't know how everyone is connected. The people from Hinamazawa have a lot of tight bonds in that regard. Consider the obligations and duties people have to the region. The web of information thereby formed is nothing to scoff at. Getting my mouth around words is hard. Not uncommon for housewives in a neighbourhood to know which kid from which house is at what grade in which school, what subjects they're good at, and what vegetables they hate, amongst other things. You see, there's a Yakuza organisation here with strong ties to Hinamazawa and the surrounding area. Please don't laugh at my attempt at a deep Chief of Police voice. I'm trying, okay? It would seem they're providing full support in these recent incidents. They seem to be proving most effective. Gangsters? Siding together with the residents opposed to the construction of the dam? It's a little hard to see what their common interest is. It's not that difficult at all. You see, actually, one of the lieutenants in that gang was originally from Hinamizawa. He was adopted into a rather influential family in the village. Exactly what was this Hinamizawa? I thought it was some desolate rustic village. For some reason, they exerted a strong influence on the surrounding areas. They had a strong sense of unity. They protect their village by any means necessary, even if that meant resorting to violence. Chief had said they were afraid because there were numerous influential people living there, but somehow I got the feeling that they were afraid of the village itself. There was something clearly different from what I'd read in the documents in Tokyo. This was no simple residential protest against the dam. For some reason, an uneasy feeling began to nestle itself at the back of my mind. It's called a premonition. Or common sense. I chose the most basic way to ask my question. In other words, I directly asked what I wanted to know. Chief, this is just a hypothetical situation, but... Huh? This ODA, in order to halt the dam project, do you think they could, say, threaten someone important to accomplish that? Chief replied immediately. It's possible. Truth be told, they've already gone to municipal and prefectural officers, as well as local officers of the Ministry of Construction, and done things that could be construed as intimidation. Several of the workers' families have also reported that they're being followed around by some suspicious people. Well, that would make sense. To halt progress on the dam, they'd raided the construction site, destroying heavy machinery and lighting the construction office on fire. They didn't have any qualms about doing that. Threats and violence against people related to the dam would probably be no problem. But that was it. Even your everyday hoodlum could use threats and violence. This time it was the kidnapping of the minister's grandson, an abnormally high-level crime. Not only was pulling off the kidnapping difficult in the first place, but so was manoeuvring to have the minister surrender to their demands immediately. There was no way this was the work of amateurs. Did these people have the power to enact this large of a crime? That was at the heart of the matter. Was the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance an organisation capable of pulling this off? I'm just checking a thing quickly. Bear with me 2 seconds. Chapters to this. Okay, and I believe this first one is Land of the Demons. Defense Alliance, an organisation capable of pulling this off. In order to ask the question once again, I chose the most basic method. Again, hypothetically, do you think they could kidnap a relative of someone of political importance? There's no way they could pull off something that big. That was the answer I most hoped for. If it was that answer, my work was as good as halfway done. Might be able to get back in time for my wife to give birth. That was how it was supposed to be. Chief, without a hint of hesitation, replied, "They just might. There's no telling how far they'd go." Sorry, Yukie. Seemed like my work wouldn't end so simply after all. Ring ring. Ring ring. Oh, Akasaka. Good work. How's the information gathering at your assigned region? It's coming along. Seems I'll be able to meet with the local public safety department, so I'm planning on heading out that way. How's the investigation in Tokyo going? The others are progressing along, but the number of groups we have to investigate are countless. Time isn't really a luxury here. There are no new developments at this time. No matter how suspicious the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance was, if they solved the case in Tokyo, my job was done. Looked like my wishful thinking wouldn't come to pass. Hanging up the phone, I let my gaze drift outside the window to the valley of unfamiliar buildings. Akasaka, a car you can borrow just returned. I'll take you to it, so follow me. Ah, thank you. He showed me the elevator to the underground parking lot, where a battered sedan was waiting for me. That the steering wheel kept drifting to the left was a little concerning, but it would be enough to get me around for a while. So I had a thought, which is that, so this takes place 5 years before the main games, and the prologue where he's going to meet with Oishi is 7 years after this, so 2 years after the main games, which I think in the previous epilogue, something happened with Hig Ch in that period. I can't super remember though. You think I would, given that it was last week, but this is me we're talking about. My destination was Shishibono City in Prefecture, an area under the control of the ODA. The Okonomiya police station was right on the front lines. Okonomiya, blah blah prefecture, Okonomiya police station. Chichibono City was, as far as provincial cities went, rather behind the times. Okonomiya, recessed in the mountains, was even more remote. With little change between the seasons, all that was left was the tepid passage of time. It made for a rather drab town. How rude. No tourist attractions or local delicacies. Without even a strong regional industry, it was simply dull. Just looking at the monotonous and peaceful townscape, it was hard to catch a glimpse of the radical resistance of the ODA. The atmosphere of boredom didn't hint at the Okonomiya police station being on the front lines of the dam conflict, nor of the numerous incidents that I heard about at the prefectural headquarters. Good morning. Are you here to pay a fine? No, I have an appointment with Mr. Hondaya from the Public Safety Division. Please tell him it's Akasaka. Ah, my apologies. Please wait a minute. The clerk, who thought I was here for a parking violation at first glance, after fumbling with the unfamiliar extension number, told the person on the line they had a visitor. Welcome, welcome. Akasaka, was it? Must have been tiring travelling out all this way. Sorry we have to do this here. I tried to reserve a reception room, you see, but the counsellor suddenly woke up and chased me out. Would hesitate to call where we were a conference room, as it was very small and cluttered. Cramped space was packed with lockers. Had the impression it was more of a change room that doubled as one for smoking. Listening to his crude chortles, I didn't get much of a feeling that Hondaya, who was head of the Public Safety Division, was much of an intellectual. But I knew that in exchange he had both experience and absolute confidence in his instincts. I apologise for interrupting you during such a busy time. I'm Akasaka from the Metropolitan Police Department. Pleased to make your acquaintance. Hondaya from the Public Safety Division. Nice to meet you. I was threatened by Sankai from the prefectural gangbusters to be generous with my cooperation. Haha. Gangbusters? Mean the Prefectural Crime Prevention Division? See, we're treating the ODA as an extension of the local Yakuza. You'd have to be a newbie if you think they're just a residential protest group. Haha. They said at the prefectural office, too, that the ODA was a link to the local mob. If I recall correctly, the adopted son of somebody influential was a lieutenant in that gang. It's the other way around. Complete opposite. Yakuza put up the protest group as a front to justify their actions. Just think of it like that. Completely the other way around. Haha. Hondaya was just about rolling with laughter. This is slightly different than the info given to me at the prefectural office, but somebody embedded locally would be more knowledgeable. While we were talking, occasionally some people who seemed to be detectives would come in and change. One of the individuals, noticing Hondaya's guffaws, came up to us. I was wondering what you guys were talking about. Hoo-hoo. Oh, Kura. Perfect timing. Why don't you join us? This here is Inspector Akasaka, who came all the way from the Tokyo Police Department. An inspector? I'm still a rookie. My name is Akasaka. Pleased to meet you. It must be nice to be so fresh-faced. Did they hire you this year? Couldn't help but think I was being ridiculed, so I only responded with this forced smile. You could tell this new person was like Hondaya, the type who had confidence in their instincts and experience. Really didn't like those types of people. Me too, buddy. Let me introduce you, Akasaka. This is Oishi from our investigative department. Regarding the S-file you were asking about, who's familiar with it? S-file? S for Sonozaki. If something is an S-file, it means there's something to do with the Sonozaki family. Something of a code name. Sonozaki? Come to think of it, I remembered when I was poring over the documents at headquarters, there were quite a few people with the last name Sonozaki popping up. If I remember right, there's a Sonozaki who's one of the executives for the ODA. I'm pretty sure they're the treasurer. Two of them were surprised when I rattled off what post that Sonozaki held. For a moment, both of them erupted into laughter. Akasaka, was it? You're quite the studious one. Could it be you've memorised all the central figures in the Alliance? Wouldn't say memorised exactly, but I've at least read the list of ODA executives. Hoo-hoo! Then who are the president and vice president? The president is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Kichiro Kimiyoshi. The vice president is the priest of the local shrine, Furude. Treasurer is Oyo Sonozaki. Auditor is Makino. Liaison is Yoshiroshi Kimiyoshi. PR head is Sadao Sonozaki. Akasaka, you're pretty good. Pay sucks, but you want to work here? You're just the type we're looking for. Hoo-hoo. By the way, Sadao Sonozaki is head of the youth department. So close. Head of PR is actually Tadataka Sonozaki. Feeling like I wasn't being complimented at all, I started settling into an uncomfortable mood. I was becoming more and more aware that I was the weakest link in the investigation, so I just had to bear with it. Didn't mean for that feeling to show up on my face, but the crafty detectives didn't let that slip by. Haha. Didn't mean to make fun of you. To make up for it, why don't I show you around the village? Somebody with no feel for the area like me would be a great help. Couldn't have asked for more. In the end, the ODA is nothing more than an alias that Hinamizawa is using to deal with the outside world. Yeah, I still like this artwork the best. I think getting to know the village would speed up your work. How about it? Residential movement, in other words, held influence over the whole region. So the leader of the movement was leader of that influence. Just like that, the thought process in the region would become the overall personality of the movement. Just like Oishi had said, in order to learn that it really like this regional force behind the dam protests, getting to know the village was the quickest way. If you would. Nodding back without skipping a beat, Oishi laughed in satisfaction and stood up. If I took the information I learned at the prefectural office and from Hyundai to heart, my position was exposed, my personal safety was at risk. The opponent was an extremist group that had no qualms about using threats or violence against someone. If my personal info was leaked, it wouldn't be hard to imagine that I'd be in danger, whether on the job or not. Thinking that, I felt a little nervous. These guys are quick to remember faces. If you're seen with me, they'll probably do a lot to hinder your work. This might be a little cliche, but put these on. Oishi handed me an incredibly suspicious disguise comprised of a baseball cap, sunglasses, and a mask. Didn't want to get all hot and stuffy, but Oishi's warning was probably right on the money. Considering that, I put them on with appreciation. Looked so suspicious that Oishi had to smile wryly. How much did I tell you again? Let's see. To the part where you're talking about how these three ancient families controlled the village. The ODA was the same as the villages of Himatsubushi itself. There was a direct correlation between being an executive in the alliance and being a leader in the village, as Hyundai had told me a short time ago. The village was ruled by three ancient families, then it would mean the ODA was ruled by those same three families. What did the documents at the prefectural office say about the leader of the defense alliance or whatnot? Documents I was using were classified. If I responded to Oishi's question, it would be a breach of security. Most likely, man I judged was more well versed in the situation than any of the documents at the prefectural police department, so I decided to answer him. The president of the alliance is the current mayor of the village, Kiichiro Kiyoshi. Oishi, upon hearing that, let out a small chuckle. For him to ask like that and to laugh at the answer as it was recorded in the documents meant that wasn't the case in reality. That means there's someone else other than Kiyoshi behind the scenes, contrary to what the people office thinks, or rather, what is commonly known. Old man Kiyoshi is nothing more than a figurehead. First place, the post of mayor in that village is nothing more than ceremonial. There's someone else in charge of both the alliance and the village? Would that be the three families we just talked about? Well, I'll explain that part right now. All of a sudden, with a thunk, the car suddenly lurched. Paved road had given way to a gravel one. Same time, the scenery outside the window changed. The Himatsubushi Dam project must be withdrawn. Overthrow the shameless puppet of a governor. Dam will submerge the natural beauty of Himatsubushi. Protect the village from the unethical dam. Fear the wrath of Oyashiro-sama's curse. Demolish the dam. Those involved must go away. Construction office must respond. Construction office manager must negotiate with us. Signs and banners crowded the roadside. Signs and banisters. Yike. Even reading the brush-called words was daunting. It was as though where the road just changed was a border with a different country. At that moment, I was startled by the car suddenly braking. Looking ahead, a barricade had been erected. About 5 or 6 protesters, wearing masks and helmets to hide their faces, were blocking the road, yelling at us angrily to stop. What is this? Checkpoint? These guys never learn. Oishi snorted as he rolled down the window and leaned out. Hey, you guys, you can't be blocking the road like this here. As Oishi glared at them with a malicious laugh, they visibly faltered. Clear the way. Can't get by like this. Hoo-hoo. You would have thought it was Oishi's car. That panicked thought seemed to make them lose their presence of mind. We'd known it was your car, Detective Oishi. We wouldn't have been so rude. Detective, what happened to your usual car? Is it in for maintenance? Something like that. I just can't get used to this car they loaned me. Judging from the brief conversation, I could guess they were familiar with the license plate of the car Oishi normally used. If they knew the car belonged to the police, they would have hidden the barricade. What they were doing was obviously obstruction of traffic. A blatant crime. Who's that suspicious guy? You, could you show us your face? Man glared at me menacingly. Wearing a mask and sunglasses made me look particularly dubious. Would not showing my face get me into some unnecessary trouble? Turned to Oishi to see what I should do. Give him a break. He's still a shy little rookie. I just want to make sure he wasn't anyone suspicious. Himatsubushi has been in a bit of stir of late. Haha. If you looked at yourself in the mirror, that mask you're wearing is way more suspicious. Ha. The men and Oishi continued to talk like that, feigning smiles at one another. From the beginning to the end, I couldn't get over the feeling I was sitting on a powder keg. As the number of trucks legally dumping still not decreased, it's a real hassle dealing with all the time. If police could understand and cooperate, it would really help. Haha. During that conversation, the barricade was moved, leaving a gap wide enough for a single car to get through. Oishi lightly honked the horn once and began to roll the car forward. Could see the men's antagonistic glares at the back of the car in the rearview mirror. Yike. What was that just now? Blocking a public road like that? Of course it's a crime. Still, if you get worked up over that, it'll never end. This guy, see, claimed there's an infestation of trucks illegally dumping in the village. The story goes in order to stop that, they're halting suspicious vehicles for inspection. Illegal dumping? Like corrupt contractors just tossing industrial waste away? The line of argument is that if the police aren't going to do anything about it, they'll take matters into their own hands. The industrial waste is just something they're doing by themselves anyways. By themselves? They're a pretty good strategy. In order to hinder construction, they've spread industrial waste over by the dam site. Then, blaming on corrupt contractors, they start instituting these inspections. There, they stop every construction vehicle coming through and interfere with them as much as possible. So then it's one of the methods the ODA is using. With the inspection just now, the car's license plate has probably been recorded. Shouldn't get stopped from here on out. Those guys know very well not to get me angry. See, rumours that if they figure a car is related to construction in some way, not only would there be checkpoints stopping at every turn, but they'd be throwing rocks and planting road spikes as well. It's best you be careful so you're not identified. If they find out you're from public safety, who knows what you'll suffer through. I wish he was acting like we were talking about something fun, but for me it was no laughing matter. It almost feels like we wandered into a civil war. Haha, it's a good way of putting it. Pretty much what you said. I wish you turned to me with a grin and menacing laugh. See, this here's a war zone. The car slowed a bit as it went down a narrow road through some farmland. You see that house in the forest over there? That antiquated one? Looking at where Oichi was pointed, there certainly was an old, traditionally designed house. That belonged to the mayor, Old Man Kimiyoshi. You'd say it belonged to the main Kimiyoshi house as well. There's a lot of branches, but they'd be one of the 3 families. 3 families? Ancient families that control Hinamizawa? That's right. And one of the others is the Furude family. Their house doesn't even have a single branch. All that's left is the head priest family. Right over there, there's the shrine. Who's the priest there? By the way, the Defence Alliance officer is on the grounds of that shrine. The officer of the ODA. If these guys were the enemy, that would make the shrine their stronghold. Can we go look over there? The shrine is the Furude family's private property. Being police, we can't sit foot there without warrant. See, they've got a member of the Diet with ties to the village backing them up. Basically, being the police has its strengths and weaknesses. Well, even when we talk about the 3 families, that's something from a long time ago. Way back then, those 3 families used to hold councils to decide things about the village. Meaning it's different now? You've got a pretty good nose. That's what I expect from an academic. The car braked to a halt with a squeal. Ahead of where we were stopped were several signs. Private property beyond, no trespassing. Beware of poisonous snakes. Danger, turn back. Intruders will be charged an entry fee of $1,000,000 yen, which is about $1,000. In modern money, I don't know what it would be back in the 70s. Signs were erected with things like that written on them. The road was separated from the forest by a chain link fence wrapped in a barbed wire. Since this is private property, this is as far as we can go. There's several surveillance cameras set up further in. Saying that we just got lost won't work with these guys. They're beyond it, right? Beyond here, right? People currently controlling Hinamizawa and the ODA were neither the Kimiyoshi family nor the Furude family, but the last of the 3. Yeah. Beyond here is one of the 3 families, the Sonozaki family. They're the ones controlling Hinamizawa from the shadows. Among the list of executives recording the documents, the number of people with last names on from the 3 families is quite high. Of course, Sonozaki was no exception. At the top was the Kimiyoshi family. The Kimiyoshi family seemed to be in charge. The rulers behind the scenes were the Sonozaki family. This double-layered structure implicitly told me that the village had both a light and a dark side. The current head of the Sonozaki family is an old lady named Oryo. She has enough clout that you could call her Empress Sonozaki. Be careful, she's no small fry. She's enough of the VIP that even the mayor of the city has to bow before her. Well, in Hinamizawa and the surrounding area, the relatives amount to a block of several thousand votes. No politician could show disrespect for that. That would make her the actual leader of the Onagafuchi Defence Alliance, right? You've got it. With those words, Oishi pulled out a well-worn cigarette box. Suspected kidnapping of the minister's grandchild and subsequent threats. Were these part of the hidden plot by the ODA in order to have their damn project cancelled? You came all the way from Tokyo to investigate this, didn't you? Huh? Yeah, that's right. Something the matter? Then, is it related to that direct appeal incident with Minister Inu guy? If that's the case, then public safety has them marked on a watch list. Something like that? Haha. Having you guess that so quickly makes this easy. While exhaling out cigarette smoke, Oishi smiled broadly like I just pulled a good one on him. Or so I thought. His smile disappeared suddenly. That's a lie, isn't it? Huh? I mean the direct appeal putting them on a watch list. That's a lie, isn't it? Oishi knew there was no way that Tokyo HQ would dispatch an investigator over something as minor as a direct appeal. If they were to dispatch someone, it had to be for a more dire reason. He had figured out as much. Thought of myself as the type of person who doesn't let things show on their face. In front of his watchful gaze, however, I felt that what I was thinking was completely laid bare. Oichi sat silently lit another cigarette, as if waiting for me to interject during this awkward pause. I see, so this was a veteran detective's way of getting someone to spill the information. But as long as I realised this, there'd be nothing more. If I didn't open my mouth, I wouldn't have to lose anything. All I had to do was stare out the window and enjoy the scenery until Oishi gave up. You really are bad at hiding things, you know. Being so young and earnest isn't so bad. Oishi smirked as he twisted out the third cigarette, while I tried not to let him notice I'd yielded completely. First I thought I'd won, but at the very least Oishi had ascertained that I was hiding something, meaning that I might have ended up marching to his tune. Oishi started up the engine once again and began to move the car. If you'd just been honest with me, I thought I might have been able to help you. How would you help? If the cat was out the back, I might as well use it to catch some mice. Well, this depends on what we're talking about, but I might be able to set you up with someone who's knowledgeable about the goings-on in Hinamizawa. An informant? See, is that what you call it? Are you interested in my case, Mr. Oishi? Well, I'm the same as you. Isn't our business to know things? Being able to meet with Oishi's informant was an extremely compelling opportunity. We were looking to recruit someone familiar with the area to collaborate with us for intelligence. In the end, there was no better method for finding people than asking. We're always taught, however, that rank-and-file police were no better than monkeys. Unlike us, they were careless with confidential cases. We looked down on them like they'd run their mouth off in a drunken stupor. Oishi was an outlaw even amongst them, and here I was, lost on whether or not I should tell him about the kidnapping of a minister's grandson. This informant, exactly how knowledgeable are they about the ODA? Haha. If you're from the public safety, you'd know, wouldn't you? Something like that is something I can't just tell you. Protect your sources. That was the first principle of dealing with confidential information. In that regard, it seemed that Oishi wasn't one of those monkeys. Should I trust him, ask for his help, or not? It's just that you work for the feds and I work for the prefecture. I don't think that our jobs are that different. I think I can be of help. I had trouble believing that this crafty old man would simply help me, just like he claimed. Now, how should I go about this? I find it hard to believe that someone of your standing would help me out without strings attached. Well, it's not like I'm completely without an ulterior motive. As I recall, you guys have space in your budget allocated to pay informants, right? Something you don't need to submit a receipt for. Just a little bit of that would be the cost of meeting with the informant. Give up the conversation earmarked for the informant to you first. Well, it helps that the details of this deal are so clear-cut. Certainly was something else for being able to brazenly state his ulterior motive like this. Rather than him doing this out of the kindness of his heart, everything was a lot clearer if he was being compensated for this deal. Felt that he was the type of man who was good at these backroom dealings. Don't misunderstand me, please. It's not me who needs the money, it's the informant, okay? In regard to the payment, I'll be handling the money. When do you want it? Right now would be good. If you don't have it on you, tomorrow works as well. Pulled out a wallet that was different from my personal one. Price was pretty much fixed depending on what kind of information I was paying for. In this case, the payment was up front. Also considering the fact I didn't know what kind of info I should get, I shouldn't pay too much. When I suggested that, Oishi suddenly stretched out his hand and tightly grasped the contents of the wallet. Times like this, it's best you not be so stingy. It's alright, it won't go to waste. I understand, I won't be stingy. And, what kind of information are you looking for? Depending on what you want, how we approach this will probably change. You say you won't spread this information to anyone else, Mr. Oishi? Can't swear as much, and the same as you. Can't withhold information obtained during the course of my duties. Haha, I got it, I swear. Nothing here gets said anywhere else. On top of that, thanks to you, I can pay back what I owe from my mahjong debts. In any case, I won't break a promise that involves money. Woohoo. I'm still unsure if I should trust him until the very last moment, but in the end I broke down. I wish he wasn't the type of guy I could trust 100%, but there was no mistaking he had access to underground information networks. In order to accomplish my mission swiftly, I needed his cooperation. I set my resolve. I'm investigating whether or not the ODA is related to a certain incident. A certain incident? There's a possibility that the Minister of Construction Inugai is being coerced by someone. Saying there's a possibility is kind of a roundabout way of putting it. Appears there's a mole close to the Minister, and due to that mole, the Minister has been monitored quite thoroughly and was seemingly forced to see to their threats right away. None of this was reported to us or the police. I see, so that's why you're saying there's only a possibility he's being coerced. In that case, isn't it a little strange? The Minister didn't report this to anyone. How do you guys know about the incident? If we didn't spy on the Minister's private life, we would have never found out. Don't think we have to provide that explanation to the informant, so I'm omitting it. I wish it had apparently caught on and quietly chuckled when I refused to explain. I see. There's a spy close to the Minister, so public safety made it a highly classified investigation. Certainly isn't a very amicable story, is it? If this matter became public, not only would this affect the Minister's political career, but the possibility of there being shift in the landscape is extremely high. Perpetrator's aim is indeed that this could develop into a very grave situation. Well, with the government having developed projects all over the country, they butted heads with quite a few people. Wouldn't take much wrongdoing for the left-wing parties to suddenly garner more support. We're currently investigating what demands are being forced on the Minister. At least we have a good idea of how he's being threatened. How? The Minister's grandson was kidnapped. denying it, but judging from where he was last seen, it's believed it's already been over 72 hours since the kidnapping. So 3 days. They would just after ransom money. This would have been settled by now. Maybe this isn't for monetary gain. The possibility that they're forcing the minister to do something politically is extremely high. That's something we just can't consent to. So then the Onagafuchi Defense Alliance was listed as one of the possible perpetrators. That is correct. Kidnap the minister's grandson and demand the cancellation of the dam project? What do you think, Mr. Oishi? From your point of view, do you think it's possible? Oishi seemed to ponder the idea for a while. The section chief at the regional office had responded immediately with, "It's possible." However, Oishi, who was this well informed about the matter, was hemming and hawing. I solidly think it's possible, knowing what we do with the ODA and the Sonozakis. Finally, just a little bit, he said something that was really just a little bit strange. This was before the Meiji era, you see. This area wasn't named Hinamizawa village back then, it was called Onagafuchi. Haha, this is just what I heard from my grandmother. Topic was so completely and suddenly unrelated to the subject of the kidnapping that I was taken slightly aback. Onagafuchi? Oh, so that's why they're called the ODA. You see, the village of Onagafuchi was said to be inhabited by demons that devoured humans. Even now it's believed that the blood of these demons partially courses through the veins of the villagers. Demons that devour humans? Mr. Oishi, what are you saying? It's information. I got a lot from you just now. A little too much. In exchange, I'm giving you a little freebie. Oishi finally smiled, but it didn't seem like he was fooling around. Please continue. You see, these human-devouring demons, normally they were revered as Taoist transcendents and lived tucked away from the rest of the world. But they ate people, after all, so apparently they go to villages in the foothills regularly and up their prey. They used to call that being demoned away or onikakushi. Demoned away? It was the first time I heard such a peculiar phrase. I felt something slightly ominous from this horrifying tale of demons abducting people in order to eat them. Look, you know how there's the common phrase, spirited away? When people suddenly go missing one day, they call it that. When the same thing happens around here, they call it being demoned away. How does that old tale relate to the matter at hand? Oh no, there's no direct relationship, I'm just making some small talk here. It's just... Thump, thump. Car shook. At some point the gravel road had changed to a paved one. It's just... what? Then around here, the phrase demoned away is some other code for disappearances and kidnappings. I just thought I'd mention that. Don't know if this has anything to do with the kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Well, there's no deep meaning behind it. It's just there's that little bit of history. Hint hint, nudge nudge. Onikakushi. Human-eating demons coming down to the foothills and abducting their prey. Then in order to cancel the dam project that threatened to submerge the village they lived in, did they demon away the minister's grandson? Then had they already made an example out of the minister's grandson and eaten him alive? Haha, it's a bit of an interesting old tale, isn't it? If you set foot into the demon's village without reason, you'll be promptly captured and eaten alive, so don't get near Onagafuchi. Kids these days might not believe such superstitions, but among the older folk in Okonomiya born in the Meiji era, many would never question these warnings. Hinamizawa village was feared by the people in the area. I recalled that piece of information I heard from the Prefectural Public Safety Division. In any case, we're in the boonies out here. It's kind of expected there'd be some superstitions around. Haha. Somebody from Tokyo like you, Akasaka, probably couldn't even begin to imagine it, could you? The man-eating demons, as the price of violating the sanctity of their village, kidnapped the minister's grandson and swallowed him whole. That ludicrous idea flew through my head. So absurd I was half disgusted with myself. Oishi was just teasing me. Stupid. It's all really so stupid. Come to think of it, by then I may already have been seized by the curse of that dubious village. For me to realise that would take a little more time. I like this. This is very intriguing that it's more of a police-style whodunit. I get the impression that, oh god, what's it called? The one that Lynn is playing at the moment. The other one by Ryukishio 7. Anyway, I get the impression that that one is a lot like this in terms of like more of a police procedural investigation than like a coming of age type one. Oh really? It's tough when it's such a sudden assignment. Please be careful. Where are you headed? You're already there? Whenever I head out on assignment, she'd ask where. Not just UK, but anybody would ask the same question. If it was a cold place, she'd urge me to pack a thick jacket. If it was far, she'd warn me to be careful on the drive over. It's just normal everyday concern that led to asking such an obvious thing. Felt sad that I couldn't answer such a run-of-the-mill question. Sorry, it's something you can't talk about, isn't it? Please be careful. Sorry, Yukie. At some point, you started apologising right away, even though when you first started your job, you were all gung-ho about it. UK laughed as though she'd realised something. Times like this, UK had the magical power to see right through me. It's already been quite a while since I was admitted to the hospital. Are you finally getting lonely? Don't tease me, I'm too old to get lonely. Oh really? You actually like to be doted on, don't you? Don't you start getting a little faint of heart when I'm not around? Aw, jeez. I can see the little devil horn sprouting from your head right now. You've always been like this. You can't hide it. You can't hide it. If I don't play with you, you get all lonely. I can hear your tail wagging over the phone. The side of UK wasn't something you could guess existed from seeing her usual modest behaviour, but it was something she didn't show to anyone but me. Normally I'd poke her to hide my embarrassment and bring an end to the conversation, but I couldn't do that over the phone. Of course UK was clever. She was teasing me because of that. I wonder when I figured out that giving you grief was this much fun. Give me a break. In any case, it's good to hear you so lively. I know, right? Did I cheer you up? I'd called UK to keep her from feeling lonely when she was by herself in the hospital room. Of course, that was nothing more than a pretense that I, being shy, had come up with, seeing that UK had long since seen through that act. Yeah. Please, phone again. When I'm not feeling up to it, I'll get my father to talk to you. Although if you're talking with my father, I get the feeling you'd be standing at attention on the other side of the line. For a while longer, UK kept teasing me without letting me end the call. It's all gonna go downhill from here, inevitably. Chairman XX, members of the XX Party, congratulations are due as we are celebrating 25 years since our founding. These past 25 years have seen much growth in the prefecture. The once quiet scenery of nothing but fields now seen the opening of a new stop for the bullet train, and with the development of the highway, we've seen the rebirth of the modern city bursting with youthful energy. We reap the benefits of a new business and industry, and with the special reverence the residents of the prefecture have for time-honoured traditions, history and culture, business and industry, with these ideals in harmony, they've accomplished in growing the city into one of Japan's foremost metropoli. Of course, the development of the prefecture couldn't have happened without the growth of the party. Resolved to see every one of our campaign promises to fruition, reaching our targets definitively and expediently like arrows from a bow. With these arrows as the fundamental basis of the party, our members have sought to pierce the obstructions preventing the happiness of the residents of the prefecture. But I do believe that everyone here is unlike an ordinary arrow. While being as unfaltering and straightforward, we have not neglected in seeking solutions that conform to the current day and age, while also keeping an eye on the future. An arrow, once loosened, can only fly to its destination. Everyone here, however, is no simple arrow. Even once loosened from the bow, without neglecting our studies, while employing new methods and implementing more effective and flexible ideas, thus being able to change trajectories mid-flight, we are magical arrows. The modern age marches ever forward. Sometimes it marches faster than the time taken from planning to execution. The following part was not in the script. It is thought to have been ad-libbed by the minister. For example, there have recently been numerous problems with the Himatsubushi power plant project. Rather than forcing through the project solely because it was decided upon by the government, it is necessary to reflect on and adjust to the ever-changing needs of the residents, the region and the next generation. The protests by the local residents that surround the Himatsubushi Dam, these are also the will of the people of the prefecture. If you feel that there is no need to listen because the project has already been finalised, then you do nothing more than shed a poor light in Japan's post-war democracy. Following is as per the script. For the lasting happiness of the citizens of Japan and the residents of the prefecture, please consider these policies thoroughly. I believe, however, we have all gained something from the flexibility and foresight of the party. I've taken up much of your time, however, allow me to say the following to celebrate the 25th anniversary of our founding. Chairman XX, members of the party in attendance, thank you very much for today. From the opening remarks of the Party Prefectural Forum and 25th anniversary celebration. Sometimes I read speeches like this and I marvel at how many press releases I have watched of a serious sort that are like that. The world is filled with people blessed with relationships. Of course, that doesn't mean that everyone is connected to each other. It's obvious that on the other side of the planet, there are people laughing and crying who can't possibly have an effect on you. In the extremely limited community of the neighbourhood, that sort of connection is just matter of fact. Quite possible that a single remarkable event could have massive consequences inside a small community. For you to increase that in scale, a perfect stranger on the other side of the globe might become enough of a legend to have an effect on our lives. Well, it's not always that way. Like I said at the beginning, the links between people basically aren't that relevant in the grand scheme of things. Whether some household nearby is having steak or croquettes doesn't matter to me. When I put on my shoes, it doesn't matter to anybody whether I put the right one on first or the left. This much the average person can understand. In reality, this is the truth. The bonds between people are quite well defined. It's not just a matter of distance, of being far or near. For example, let's say that person A's actions have some effect on me. Even then, person B's actions could have absolutely no consequence on my life. The reverse also holds true. Just because my actions affect person B doesn't mean they always affect person A as well. Put it bluntly, The bonds between people are like gears in a machine. The gear that represents me meshes with some people, but is isolated from others. There are some who try arguing against this. These people bring up the example of gears in a clock. Each gear indeed only directly meshes with one or two others, but if you rotate one gear, the one next to it is moved, which connects to the next one and the next. In the end, all the gears are moving. There is a logic behind this, more than enough to convince the average person. Why is the argument convincing? The answer is simple. Relationships between people are ambiguous and can only be described conceptually. How the gears are connected and how their movements are chained together can't be used as fundamental explanation, so it throws a wet blanket on the argument. So for the people who like that explanation, I use the example of a clock again to refute it. First of all, to say that this world is a singular clock would be wrong. That is, there isn't only one clock. There exist many clocks in this world, each counting their own time. Think about it, the idea that this world is just one big clock is the height of arrogance. Even if you use the analogy of gears to explain human relationships, then you should be able to explain it using an analogy of multiple clocks unrelated to a single gear. Neighbours A and B. A is a gear in the same clock as me, so it's best to remain civil. B is a gear in a different clock, so it doesn't really matter to me at all. That's the kind of clear distinction I'm talking about. You want to say I'm being fallacious? Then let's change the analogy to something more familiar so you can understand. Probably heard the phrase, a fire on the opposite shore, sometime in your life, no? Example, if your neighbour's house is on fire, you'd probably try and help to put it out, wouldn't you? Be awful if fire spread and burned down your own house. But if that fire was in a town on the opposite side of a river, would you still go out of your way to help? You wouldn't, would you? Even though it would be the wrong thing to do, there's no way the fire could spread to your own house. Even if it turned into a huge conflagration, there's no relation between the houses that will spread fire to yours and those that won't. With this basic example, you should be able to see the difference between gears that are or aren't related to your own. Said that, there's still a lot to think about, even without a river to divide it. After all, it's not a spatial problem like being on the other side of the river, is it? Confused cat? Also that the title of that is Gears and Fire and the Taste of Honey. Check in the truck. Missed on that truck? The car had stopped, but he didn't know any more than that. For not only was he blindfolded, but locked in the trunk of a car. How could people become as powerless just by being robbed at their side? He absolutely wouldn't have known this without experiencing it firsthand. Soon realised it was pointless to try and undo his bonds, with the confines of the truck quickly making him lightheaded. He had no choice but to let this mild torture dull his senses. When the car stopped and the unpleasant vibration ceased as the engine was killed, he couldn't help but delude himself he was being set free, even though nothing had been resolved in reality. Of course, he was soon removed from that delusion. Strange to see as when he heard one of the men who abducted him and the older man he was hearing for the first time strike up a conversation. Nice to see you. The chick is in the trunk. He struggled so much that he's probably exhausted right now, but there's not a mark on him, just as ordered. Oh, must have been a handful. Ow. That hurt my eyes. Trunk opened, letting in a blast of fresh, cool air. Even though up until just now he had been thinking about getting out of that stuffy trunk, when it was actually opened, he suddenly became uneasy. Even so that he wished that the lid of the trunk would once again close, separating himself from them. Suddenly someone stroked his head. Cool, since he was blindfolded, he couldn't tell if the hand was petting him or simply evaluating how easy it would be to remove a scalp. Unable to tell the difference, he could only freeze as he imagined the worst-case scenario. Poor little bugger. He's shaking. Just stay calm for a bit. The older man said that kindly as he stroked the boy's head. Must be real tough for you, but you see, Gramps is a nice man. He'll help you soon enough. Having heard nothing but the average standard dialect his whole life, older man's distinct intonation left a deep impression on the boy. He had no idea what he was saying. Be better if I was doing like a strong northern accent, but I can't really do one. I have an accent that's like North London, but occasionally drifts up to the Midlands. I guess I have like a, that's not really an Oxfordshire accent, but a home counties accent, maybe I should say. For your Grants to register as meaning your grandfather took a while to the process. Eventually the hand that was stroking his head loosened the blindfold. Can't keep his eyes covered. If he splits his face open, it'd be bad. And with that, might as well take out the gag. He can't breathe. He can't breathe. Can't breathe like that. It'll be trouble if he yells. Leave him to us. Jeez, you guys don't know how to treat someone. The main family said no rough stuff. Better remember that well. Yeah, we won't do anything stupid. As long as the kid cooperates, that is. Man's hand prodded roughly and repeatedly at the boy's head. Rugged hand, unlike the affectionate one that had been stroking his head before. Just stay cooperative. If you struggle, there's no guarantee what will happen. That cliché threat was literally beaten into his head. I'm always intrigued by the way that manga and anime and games try and represent regional Japanese accents. It's fun. Okay, so the achievement for this next one is the terrifying shrine girl met with someone's adorable daughter. So we know what that's about. I'm sorry if I'm being a bit quiet, by the way. I'm suddenly really tired, so Waking up in a cheap hotel in the city was by no means pleasant. I remembered even during the long camping trips we had during grade school, I wanted to get home quick, counting out the days left on my fingers. Waking up this morning, I was somehow reminded of that. Was it a need to be with my wife when she gave birth? A particular type of homesickness? As a productive member of society, as a public servant bound to fulfill his duties, it was pathetic indeed. Those negative emotions faded as I downed my breakfast, which was surprisingly not half bad. Meeting with the informant that a wish he had provided me would be tonight. Till then, I couldn't just be lazing around. The ODA was protesting the dam's construction in various ways. Included in this was a strategy for improving public relations, which could be categorised into two major forms: combative and policeful. In regard to the former, as an attempt to keep law enforcement in check, they appealed to the public sympathy by highlighting the oppressive and inhumane tactics of the police and brutality of the riot squads. The latter, peaceful route, stressed how precious the natural surroundings of Hinamzawa was, seeking people who had opposed the dam on environmental grounds. As part of that, the village of Hinamzawa had invited celebrated zoologists and botanists, as well as environmental groups, to advertise the nature surrounding the town. According to the news, in recent years, there had been a group calling itself Hinamzawa Nature Watching, setting up free sightseeing tours. I would have liked to take advantage of the opportunity, but when I called the village administrative office, they responded it was too late to put in an application for the tour, and they were still undecided as to when they'd be doing another one. I see. So there's no applications for next time. Too bad. Are you a member of an environmental group? Or maybe someone from a magazine? Just here privately. Privately? Then you're a tourist? Something like that. It's my hobby to take pictures that display how beautiful nature can be. I read in a magazine there were some precious nature reserves here, so I was looking forward to it. I knew there was an article that had something like that written in it, but I hadn't actually read it. Was this ad-lib line not going to work? Contrary to my expectations, the person I was speaking to laughed happily. Ha! Then come. The village is a little busy right now, but you're totally welcome here. Ha! In that case, I'll graciously accept the offer. Thank you. How are you getting around? Car? If that's the case, could I ask for your license plate number? No, there's no ulterior motive behind that. Haha. That was probably related to the checkpoints they set up on the way to the village. If I didn't give them my license plate number, I'd most likely be hindered in various ways. I thought about using the car I borrowed from the prefecture, but I was lost on whether it was okay to tell them that plate number. The ODA was behind this incident. There was no guarantee they wouldn't be able to find out who I was. I had to play it safe, so I elected to refrain from using the car. No, actually, I'm not using a car. If there's a bus or something, I'd prefer that. We do have a bus, actually. The route is going to be discontinued soon, though. Can take that. Departs from Okonomiya Station. Thank you very much. I'll look out for it. When will you be coming? Is it your first time in Hinamzawa? If it is, you must be unsure about a lot of things. If you let me know, I can have someone show you around. Oh, I couldn't ask that much of you. Don't worry about it. That's just a bit of PR we do to protect nature around the village. Judging by what I saw at the checkpoint, the villagers were at the very least wary of outsiders. That's why in order to move in and out the village freely, I had to travel with somebody like Oishi or side with the dam protests. Having an interest in the natural environment surrounding the village tied into the peaceful type of PR that the village was using. I was a bit against having a watchdog attached to me, but that might actually work out in my favour. The entire village was fired up about the dam protests, so I might be lucky enough to hear some especially candid opinions from the residents. Given that, there was no real reason for me to refuse their offer. I wonder if this is why, part of why, what's-his-face is targeted later. If they find out that he came into the village in the guise of being a photographer, wonder if they... I find it odd that it's because he's an outsider. I mean, my more educated guess is that it was because he broke into the storehouse. I like what they mentioned. I read it on Theory's post, and also at the end of the last game, where they were talking about how sort of one has to infer that these things happened even though we didn't see them on camera because we weren't involved in them. So it makes sense that, you know, Takano and the other guy whose name I keep forgetting were still targeted because of that. But it's also interesting, maybe he was targeted because he's a photographer and they were like, fuck photographers, get out of here, nerd. There was no real reason for me to refuse their offer. Is it really alright? If so, that'd really help. After that, I was shown the bus schedule and directed to which bus I should get on. Somebody would come and meet me at the bus stop in the village. After showing me around a spot I'd taken an interest in, there was no doubt they'd bring me somewhere like an anti-dam information centre. Then, over a cup of tea, they'd try and indoctrinate me into accepting their principles and beliefs. If that was their aim, there'd be a lot of freebies involved. The world is about give and take after all. Couldn't be going in a suit. Pulled some plain clothes out of my travel case and changed into something more casual. After that, after calming down by watching some local TV, I left the hotel and set out for Okonomiya. Apologies for the hiccups. The bus route that I was told would soon be discontinued certainly didn't look that way. There was more than enough trips on the schedule and the number of passengers was by no means sparse. It was the main link to Okunomiya, the only town in the area. Types and passengers that stood out were older folk who didn't look like they could drive and housewives who didn't seem like they had a license. The area was submerged at the bottom of the lake. It wouldn't matter if there was a bus route. That's why it was going to be discontinued in the unnatural scheme of things. You could catch a glimpse of the government's intent in cutting off their means of transportation to bully the villagers into emptying out sooner. It made sense, according to the documents. Talks between the Ministry of Construction and locals broke down quite early. Government decided from the start to take an aggressive stance on the matter. It was like the fairy tale with the north wind and the sun trying to get the traveller to remove its cloak. Even their bullying had meaning to it. The reason why the ODA resisted so violently was because the government was doing unseemly things like that. I was someone who lived in Tokyo, so for a village or two out in the boonies like this to be submerged didn't seem like a big deal. But I guess for somebody actually living here, it would be a vitally huge problem. Sure is. I'm going to take an aside to talk about small villages in the UK. So the UK, like any country, has lots of different regional dialects, and there was a time, not even a couple hundred years ago, where you could tell which side of a river somebody was on by their accent and by their voice. So, for example, the city I currently live in, the city centre is north of a river, and I live in like the suburb just south of the river, and people who are local and native to my area, the area I live in, would be distinctly opposite from people who are local and native just north of the river, just because it acted as like a natural boundary. And one of the problems is that as cities grow, they subsume all these, and even as villages and towns grow, no worries, Bix. I'm just rambling, so don't worry about it. The issue is that as cities and towns grow, these things all sort of submerge into each other and become one, and that's actually why a lot of cities in the UK, a lot of the big cities, Birmingham, Manchester, London obviously, Newcastle, places like that, the bigger cities, a lot of them have had green belts established round of enforced farmland basically, or green areas, and that's to stop this, these individual towns turning basically into megacities, because it's already happened with London. I mean, you have the home counties, but the home counties are, they may as well be like even greater London, given that most people who live in the home counties probably work there. I know one person who lives in the home counties who doesn't work there, and it's because she primarily works from home, but it's because she's coordinator for a bunch of people who do work in London. She just coordinates them from home. Other than that, almost everyone I know who lives in the home counties works in London. My cousin lives just outside of London, and she works in the Bank of England, and normally she would be living in London, but she moved home with a COVID issue because she was planning on moving out from her flat anyway, so she moved home because she can work from her parents, probably easier than she can work at her actual flat, and then when she can come back into the office, she'll find a new place to live, hopefully with better flatmates. But it is, and there's a similar problem in Japan, where the problem instead is that these older towns and cities, rather than becoming amalgamated, what's happening is basically that they're dying out, because people, young people move to Tokyo, they move to the other, the local big city in order to work, in order to live, in order to raise their family there, where the jobs are and where the money is, and the older towns are being, populated exclusively by older folks, and they're starting to die out, as well as the fact that, there's not people to look after them, because you can imagine, even if you have the culture of it's your responsibility to look after your parents in their old age, if you're working in Tokyo, you might be more likely to say, well, we'll move you to Tokyo and you live with us, rather than saying, I'll move home to look after my mum, or look after my parents. It's interesting, and it's interesting to sort of think of things like this, even happening in the 70s set in this game, so sorry for that ramble. It's just something that intrigues me. I don't know what it's like in the States. I know also that it's like that in some parts of Canada, where smaller towns are populated by pretty much exclusively old folks, because people move to the cities, or they move to, they go where the jobs are. Kate Beaton has some heartbreaking but very interesting comics about their experience with this, so recommend reading them. Let's get back to the game, shall we? And I'll stop rambling. This route will be discontinued at the end of this financial year. Thank you for your patronage up to this point. We look forward to your continued patronage on our other lines. Okonomiya Transportation. Gazing lazily at the notice of discontinued service posted inside the bus, I counted down the number of stops until the designated one. Along the way we passed through a checkpoint before without stopping. They knew what time the bus was coming, so they'd opened up the barricade ahead of time. From here on out was enemy territory. My palms had at some point become coated in a thin film of sweat. Now arriving at Ukata Waterworks. Now arriving at Ukata Waterworks. Are there any passengers disembarking? I hurriedly pressed the stop request button as the designated stop was announced. For now, the numerous passengers to be getting off here meant that it must be quite a remote place. In actuality, the stop I got off at was so normally run down that I could tell it was barely used. As soon as I stepped out, an intense atmosphere completely different from the interior of the bus assailed my body. Right now, Oishi or Hondaya weren't beside me. That's right. At present, I was alone in the middle of enemy territory. Enemy territory? Yep. I can speak English. My adversaries probably thought I was an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. Yeah. See, that makes sense. The American attitude to commuting baffles me, because, like, my commute at the moment is a 20-minute bus trip, maybe half an hour if traffic's really slow. It would be about 10 minutes if I was driving. In London, my commute to school, to uni and to work was about an hour by public transport, and it would have been maybe half an hour, 40 minutes by driving. But the idea of commuting 2 hours it baffles me. And yet, actually, I had colleagues back in London who did that. I had a colleague who lived out in the home counties, and her morning routine is she'd wake up and she'd take the dogs out for a walk, then she'd come back home, she'd get in a car, she'd drive to the train station, get a train into London, then she got a train to Victoria, then she'd get the tube to the office, and then back in the evenings. And I don't understand how she could do it. I thought it was like, oh, it's difficult for me to get 2 tubes into London. But I suppose on the other hand, if you're used to commuting like 2 hours to your job, you know, it makes sense that you would live at home. I mean, you know, and not move necessarily to the city. If I commuted by car 2 hours from here, I could easily get to another city. London is about 2.5 hours. Yeah. That's the same thing with London. But then on the flip side, it's a lot quicker if I were to drive to work, because I wouldn't be restricted to the main roads, which I am on the bus, and also I wouldn't be, you know, at the mercy of other people getting on and off, which I am on the bus. I think the other thing is that America, in terms of physical distance, it is simply too big to homogenize like that. Whereas in terms of physical distance, it would be very easy for the UK to become, you know, one big mega city, basically. I mean, there's the nearest city to me is a place called Loughborough, and the bus that I get on in the mornings to work, actually, if you follow it to the end of the line, it goes down to Loughborough, and that's about an hour, probably maybe half an hour by driving. But that means that, you know, it'd be easy to merge into one. I have a colleague who lives in Derby, which is a full straight up another city, and he commutes to work every day, and his drive's not that bad. We're very close together here. Adversaries probably thought I was an ordinary tourist, but that was nothing more than a ruse. But if by some mistake my true identity was to be exposed, brought back the terrifying words I'd heard at the prefectural office, that if somebody was attacked in Hinamazawa with a knife, there wouldn't be any evidence left behind. I didn't seem suspicious, did I? My clothing was currently casual. It's exactly the type of clothing that the city slicker that viewed the countryside as wholesome getaway would wear. A camera and a knapsack, inside with various things needed for hiking. Still only June, and maybe it was unusual, but the sun was shining down like it was already in the middle of summer. The fact that I didn't bring a hat must seem odd. No, it wasn't something to be that concerned about. It's alright, I was just a normal tourist. Just normal. Was there anything suspicious about me? Yeah, in London, easily 2 hours. For me to get to my friend's house in London, the friends that I mostly visit when I'm down there, it takes me 2 hours from my mum's house on the subway, on the tube. It can take longer, actually, depending on how I'm going. The reason it only takes 2 hours is because I've started getting the high-speed trains. I get a high-speed train down to the south of London, and then I get the world's slowest southeastern rail to their area, and then I get on a bus to their house. But I used to take 2 tubes to get to South London, and then I would be on the bus for an hour and a half. If I'm taking the bus back home in the evenings when traffic is pretty much empty, it can take 2.5, 3 hours. Which is fine. If I'm drunk and I'm like drunk enough that I'm sleepy, I will just nap off like the worst of the booze on the bus, and then usually by the time I wake up from that nap naturally, we're coming to my end, and then I'm like, okay, I'm awake now. I'll get to my stop. Also, with apologies to anyone watching this on YouTube who is confused by the conversation that Pix and I are having about public transport. If you watch the VOD on Twitch, you'll understand. I keep thinking I want to put like a one of those chat things up on screen, but also I feel like my screen can get pretty busy, especially when I have my face cam going. It would be like up in the corner over here, and I feel like that plus the notifications here, plus face cam here, plus the event list here would get a bit busy. So maybe part of my part of what I'll do this summer in my rebranding is changing my stream screen. We'll see. Sorry, I was just an old tourist. Was there anything suspicious about me? Asking that as I turned around to look at the bus that was departing. Oh! No, not again. All the passengers by the window were staring down at me silently. They were staring right at me, as if they'd seen right through my proud little outfit. Just staring, looking down on me. Countless stares rained down like needles on me from the windows open to the bus. All that rained down was stares. Stares rained down like needles on me from windows open to air out the bus. None of them were saying a word, but all the more, the silent stares told me more than 1,000,000 words could. Hurry up and go back to Tokyo, you outsider. No, There was no reason for me to speak. My quiet voice was drowned out by the sound of the engine. The bus, as if to torment me, set out slowly, and after doing more than enough to intimidate me, sped off. No word of a lie, I had genuine nightmares about Neon's eyes when we first saw that screen. And now they're gonna come back. Oh, I got through all of the last game without having nightmares about it. A thin film of sweat began to rise from my entire body. According to the documents, it was a village that seemed wary of outsiders. Its population was small as well. If they saw an unfamiliar face, they'd be quick to identify that face as an outsider. On top of that, nobody else had gotten off at this stop. It was a bus stop that they normally just passed on by. Somebody actually getting off there, there was no doubt that had drawn some attention. But this wasn't a slip-up. They were the ones who directed me to get off at the stop. There was nothing to worry about. I knew that I was just nervous since this was my first undercover assignment. My more seasoned colleagues referred to us as the new generation that didn't know how to lose their cool, but that wasn't true at all. Phew. In order to calm my breathing down, I exhaled the unpleasant air residing in the pit of my stomach. Couldn't help but pray that my apprehensions would disappear like the white clouds of exhaust expelled from the bus. There was a small shed there to serve as a shelter if it rained, and it was there I decided to wait. Inside the shed, one wall was plastered with posters advertising the damn opposition efforts. It was like the heartfelt screams of the villagers were recorded on that wall. Inside that shelter, I can't speak, I'm really sorry. Inside that shelter, I've gone like badly Australian / Kiwi, certainly. It's just because I can't speak words. I felt an inexplicable pressure. Wasn't like I had any real relation to the damn project, but it still made me feel hesitant about being inside there. That was just how filled with the force of denial that space was. And inside that uneasy space was a girl. So cute. Tiny Rika is so cute. Inside that shed, covered in words written in broad brushstrokes berating the policies regarding the damn calling fraction, there was a girl sitting there with a drowsy gaze as if half asleep. Two images clashed so much that I could only stand there dumbfounded for a moment, trapped in such a surreal environment. If I stepped inside, who knew what kind of oafish noises I would accidentally make? Couldn't be disturbing this girl's slumber like that. Having thought this, I gave up on entering the shed. It was just a sleeping kid, so why was I so worked up about it? Finally, I realised. This girl, to us as a married couple, was the very image of our ideal child. Even after numerous examinations at the hospital, we didn't know for sure what our child's gender was. Whether we could tell if they were a boy or girl was, in the end, dependent on whether or not we could get an image of, the Jennies, as it were. Girl, but with things where they were, the possibility was high. Even so, UK had been saying that the chances that it was a boy or a girl were even. But in my heart, I'd already decided our coming child was a girl. Since the day I decided that until now, it was so fun to imagine how a child would grow up that I couldn't help myself. Amongst those numerous imagined forms, the one that I thought to be the most ideal had materialised right in front of me. Of course, a little of it was due to the circumstances. My ideal image, her hair would be on the short side. The girl in front of me, though, had long hair. It was almost as if somebody had taken my ideal and made some small adjustments. It certainly wasn't something unpleasant. Even so, I felt like I was selling her just by looking at her like that. She had an immaculate, no, a divine air about her. Your favourite Rika and mine? Girl with an angelic smile, with a yawn wide enough you could see her molars, woke up all of a sudden. I didn't mean to peep, but locking eyes with a girl who'd just woken up like this somehow made me feel like I was playing a prank on her. I wasn't doing anything shady, but I became flustered. The girl spoke. No, cried out. Meep. Meep? Like that character on the show with the puppets? With your orange hair? Thought it was just one of those greetings kids do. In order to prove I wasn't a suspicious person, I responded in kind. Meep. 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 The girl stared at me dubiously with a doll-like expression, cute but cold and hard to read. Well, I wouldn't be surprised. There was, after all, an unfamiliar man right in front of her when she woke up, who responded with meep when she said the same. Suspicious. Definitely thought I was suspicious. Meep. Meep. We were both at a loss for words. The only one lost was me. The girl in front of me, as if inquiring about my motive, stared at me intently. In this silence, I felt like I was the one who had to say something first. The girl was way better at interrogating somebody than Oishi. I'm not anyone suspicious. I'm... Nipa? 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 What I could only have described as a cold expression suddenly blossomed into a smile, one that soon infected me. Might be familiar with the term angelic smile. To me, it was like that phrase was created just to describe the smile she gave me. The girl smiling while saying Nipa probably wanted me to return the favour in kind. That's right, this is a kid's form of communication. The other person emulate we just did was a rudimentary form of mutual understanding. Nipa. Nipa. It was a beautiful afternoon of the early summer. What was I doing? Nipa. Nipa. Whatever. This was interesting in its own way. Making somebody happy with just a smile was the work of angels, and this girl was definitely one of them. Couldn't help but pray that my own child, who was soon to be born, would grow up to be like this girl. That strangely gentle moment was finally brought to an end by the arrival of a car. An older person waved at me from the driver's seat, a dry smile plastered on their face. Hi there, good afternoon. Sorry for being late. You're the tourist you phoned yesterday, right? Ah, yes. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm running a little behind because of the farm. Hop right on in. Looks like the weather isn't going to hold up for much longer, so I'll show you around real quick. The weather? Changes fast around here. There'll probably be an evening showers again today. If that happens, you won't be able to take any pictures. Come on, get in, get in. Meep. Turning around, the girl was standing right behind me with an intrigued expression. Body language somehow reminded me of a stray cat that followed you around after you played with it a little. So charming. Well, it is Rika. Praise be, praise be. Nipa. Girl named Rika with an immaculate smile and an old man praising her while rubbing prayer beads in his hands was a rather mysterious sight to behold. The girl turns her face to me, tilting her head a little in a cutesy manner. Seeing that, the elder introduces me as a tourist who came to sightsee in Nemazawa. A young man who came to the village for sightseeing? Girl, Rika, said that with a smile as she clung onto my arm. Well, yeah. I heard this village is surrounded by a precious nature reserve, so I very much wanted to record that with my camera. Even though I look like this, I really want to take pictures. Tomitake Mark 2. Huh? Tomitake? Huh? Makino. Is it okay if I come along too? I couldn't. You could come along, Rika, but there's nothing interesting to see. You should go play near the shrine or something. Yep. Distinctly displeased expression crept across Rika's face. Being able to show one's emotions honestly in their face was a privilege the young children had. If it's not too much of a problem, could you bring this child along with us? When I said those helpful words, another smile spread across Rika's face with another nipa as she clung to me again. Not bad at all. I want this girl to call me Papa. No. Father. Dad. What am I doing? Ever since I met this girl, I was completely off my game. Just calm down. Rika has that effect on people. Nothing I can do, I guess. Rika never listens, even if you say no. Come on, hop on in. Come on, Rika, too. The old man descended from the driver's seat and opened up the sliding door of the van, which had Onagafuchi Alliance Town Council stenciled on the side. Rika brushed me with his side, dove into the seat, and began bouncing around right away. Seemed like she was thoroughly enjoying the bouncy springs. Come on now, Rika. If you're like that, our guest can't sit down. Hey, Rika. Ha, girls are nice. Wonder if my child will play around like this too. No, it was written in that guide to raising a child that you shouldn't dote on them. Kids are kids, if you don't raise them strictly without spoiling them. Soft and springy. Yupa? Yupa. I'm definitely going to be a terrible father. It's decided that I'd be a doting parent before my child was even born. Well then, sure, I'll show you around some places I think look nice. Have you eaten lunch yet? Yes, I had a light meal at the hotel. Is that so? Well then, let's get going. We're setting off on a tour of Hinamazawa. Yay! Is it alright if I call you Rika? Chan? Sure. My name is Rika Furude. I can already do addition in the tens digits. Oh, is that true? That's amazing. I don't count on my fingers. I can do it all in my head. The way she insisted upon that was just too cute. At some point, the nervousness I had about being alone in enemy territory had evaporated like it was never there at all. Had to be a little thankful that I met this girl. Well then, let's get going. It's time for Hinamazawa nature watching. The old man stepped on the gas with a great deal of gusto. Oh. Tiny Rika is just too cute. Tiny Rika is just adorable. The old man, who was apparently named Makino, was he the same Makino that was listed as the auditor of the ODA? Showed me around places that were all breathtaking. Even though I wasn't really here for sightseeing, I couldn't help but be impressed. First of all, this was different from the simple scenery of a city. Scenery of a charming village like this, no matter how mundane it seemed to the villagers, had a tranquil appeal to it. First I was only releasing the shutter as part of my tourist act, but midway through I found myself taking pictures out of pure interest. Tourist traps have their own unique allure to them, but there was nothing like that here. I was especially captivated by the unspoilt nature of the place. If there wasn't that whole opera over the dam, I'd want to bring Yukie here with me some other time. Wanted her to breathe in this fresh air, as well as show her the rejuvenating verdant scenery. Is something like this that interesting? You're a strange person, Akasaka. No, these cylindrical mailboxes are rare nowadays. They have a certain nostalgic air about them. You wouldn't happen to think they're elegant, would you? Haha. Is Hinamazawa fun? Yeah, it's fun. Once she's discharged from the hospital, I'd like to bring my wife here at least once, with a child that'd be born by that time. Right now, she's in the hospital waiting to give birth. She's due any day now. Be nice if they're a cute girl like you. So it seems like congratulations is soon going to be in order. Still, that's not good. To leave your wife behind and play around in a place like this? I was momentarily at loss for words. It's exactly how Makino said. There was no good reason for a man who was waiting on his wife to give birth to be playing around idly in this place. Did I slip up? Well, we had already planned this trip to Hinamazawa a long time ago. My wife's family is with us, so it's alright. If you had this plan so far in advance, then how come you didn't make the sign-up deadline for the nature watching? If you did, you could have toured around on a nice bus instead of being cramped up in here. It didn't seem as if Makino was actually digging for anything. If this conversation continued any longer, put some unexpected holes in my cover. Halted the conversation by pretending to take another picture. Well then, for our last, I'll take you to the place with the best view. Slightly before evening. Sorry my voice is cutting out a few times. Sun was still burning brightly, but a cool breeze began to mix itself into the air. So my exploration of Hinamazawa with Rika was just about done. The place with the best view? Well, Rika, where else could it be but the view from around the shrine? Hearing that, Rika smiled even more. Well then, I'll introduce you to my home, Akasaka. Huh? By Rika's home, you mean, huh? The shrine. Furude Shrine. There's an observation platform. You can see some really pretty scenery. Furude Shrine. Girl who called Furude Shrine at home, Rika. If I remember correctly, her full name was Rika Furude. And Furude was, that's right, one of the three families. Even if the Sunzaki family is said to hold all the actual power, still one of the old houses that held some authority. More important than that right now was Furude Shrine. If I remember correctly, Oishi had told me, within the grounds of the Furude Shrine there were the offices of the ODA. And since the land around the Furude Shrine was private property, police couldn't set foot in there heedlessly. Furude Shrine, where even Oishi couldn't simply set foot into, the main base of operations for the ODA, being given the unexpected opportunity to enter there, couldn't have asked for more. I'm looking forward to it. Please, if you would. Well then, let's get there quick. Weather seems to be getting a little iffy. The sky had suddenly become overcast. Wouldn't be odd if it started raining soon. The cicadas, as if trying to finish the daily allotment of chirps before the evening, cried out even more fervently. Daily allotment of chirps is a pretty cute phrase. The van stopped in the shrine's parking lot. Also parked there were numerous other vans with loudspeakers mounted on top of them tagged as makeshift propaganda vehicles. On the side of each vehicle was scrawled, "The dam project must be demolished. Defend our homeland to the last. No Oyasha Osama's anger," or a slogan of a similar kind. They gave the feeling that even without using the loudspeakers, there was enough to overwhelm any onlookers. Vertical banners were erected in various places. The contents of those banners were similar. They were all objections against the dam or crude insults towards the government. There were horizontal banners, placards, and so on and so forth. Proclaimed that without a doubt, this was the headquarters of the ODA. For Rika, however, this hectic place was also her home. "We've arrived. I'm home." Rika crawled over my lap and exited the vehicle first. Mikino had noticed that I was looking at the protest banners. Shrine also has the officers of the anti-dam movement. For you, this probably brings back memories of the anti-security treaty conflicts back in the day. Student movements against government policies, movements that bordered on terrorist activity, were at one time commonplace, if only in order to garner global attention. Students holding out in lecture halls, brawling with the riot squads that charged in. It was an age where wasting one's youth like that was widely considered a road to glory. It was slightly before my time. Not really an activist or anything. I studied without incident and graduated without incident. Don't really agree with the violence or occupations they use to protest the government's policies. Oh, you have quite the nice opinion there. If you have an opinion on a policy, vote for the candidate who shares your view or enter the political world yourself and assert your beliefs in a lawful manner. That's the foundation of democracy. Don't think that's something you should challenge with violence. For a young one, you have some fine beliefs. I saw that feeling of respect reflected in Mikino's gaze. At that moment, something tugged at my sleeve. I have no idea what Akasaka is saying. Rika, feeling like she was the only one who didn't understand the conversation, had a look of displeasure on her face. That expression was so charming, I had to keep myself from grinning like an idiot. It's often said that a father wants to spoil his daughter rotten. I think I understood that feeling very well. Sorry, it was a little bit hard for Rika to understand, wasn't it? Japan is a peaceful country, so you have to argue your point in a peaceful manner. You shouldn't resort to violence, in other words. No matter how I explained, a girl who was just boasting about being able to carry digits over when adding things probably wouldn't understand. Probably wasn't something to talk about in front of Rika anyway. So then, Akasaka, how do you think we should keep our village from being flooded by the dam? Even if I regretted my careless words, it was too late now. Here I was at the main headquarters of an organisation, telling them their way of doing things was illegal, preaching that violence was not the answer. A complicated feeling had mixed itself in with the respect of Mikino's gaze. It was then I finally realised. It wasn't that simple. There wasn't a soul who would argue that what I was saying wasn't correct. Using violence to get one's way was something that everybody knew you shouldn't be proud of. But right now, Hinamizawa was in a predicament that couldn't be overcome with peaceful means alone. The guarantee of the dam project, through the efforts of the various propaganda campaigns enacted by the ODA, was being called into question. If they further strengthened their campaign, they might be able to suspend or change the construction plans. But that was the most just possibility. If the government proceeded with the construction as planned, it wouldn't be long before this place was at the bottom of the lake. If it wasn't for the unrestrained resistance of the residents of Hinamizawa, this place might already have been underwater. We can't live anywhere else other than here. Ooh, that sounds very good, Pixie. I've been getting my Friday takeaways as usual, because I can't not. It's such like an ingrained habit in me now that I have to. But yeah, takeaway does sound good right now. Oh, I'm just thinking about food. I had a really simple dinner, which I always do on stream days, but it definitely left me with a craving for good takeaway or a good meal. We can't live anywhere else other than here. We can't live in the city. The words of this remarkable young girl were all too accurate, carrying with them the screams of the hearts and minds of the residents of Hinamizawa. Of course, there was nothing I could say to respond to that. I could only respond to Mikino and Rika's heavy words with silence. I'm sorry. This isn't a problem that an outsider should lightly poke their nose into, is it? I apologise. Mikino, unsure of how to reply for a while, could only laugh pointlessly. It's nothing that concerns guests that make their home somewhere else. If you enjoy it here, please tell all your friends that Hinamizawa is a wonderful place. Please. For the spread to dozens, maybe even hundreds of people, and that ridiculous plan to submerge this place at the foot of a dam will eventually fall apart. Followed that with a smile that said, please don't think much of it. Mikino letting me not worry that much really was a stroke of good fortune. Becoming infatuated with the idea of making friends with a little girl had made me completely forget my apprehension at being in an enemy territory. Being reminded of this right before I was going to step foot into the headquarters might have been a good thing. If we'd had this exchange in the middle of the office, there was a short-tempered youth in there, they might have come at me. Thinking of how extreme they were, in the worst case, my life could have been in danger, seeing that I looked quite despondent at the moment. Mikino, thinking he'd said something wrong, became flustered trying to think of a way to improve my mood. I was a bit careless just now. I'm very sorry. No, don't worry that much about it. Sights you showed me around the village were all beautiful, wonderful places. I really do want to come here one more time. This beautiful village is going to be submerged at the bottom of the lake. I can understand why you'd fight so desperately. I'd somehow managed to use my despondent look to change the topic in my favour. After a bit, McKenna would return to his usual high spirits, seemed to believe I completely sympathised with his point of view. Now, let's leave the talk at that for now. There's a place around here with a really great view. Let's go, Akasaka. Rika, seemingly happy to be free from all the boring and gloomy adult talk, bounded up the stone steps. There's no real need to run, but in order to catch up with her, I also darted up the steps. There were several tents belonging to the town council erected on the shrine grounds. Inside the tents were several folding tables and chairs, and a number of the older town council's members were livening things up with chit-chat. They weren't saying anything incendiary like, the dam project must be destroyed. It was just a mindful, relaxed chit-chat between the local geezers. Normal sort of calming scenery. Oh, hiccups, sorry. At the entrance of a shed that looked like a meeting place, there was a large sign erected with ODA HQ written in bold brushstrokes. That was the base of operations. To be honest, it was a bit of a letdown. If you ask what I'd been imagining, this is a bit embarrassing, but I thought it'd be something a bit much more dramatic, with barbed wire fences and barricades. My first impression of the place, though, was completely different from that. It looked like a simple backwater town hall. It didn't look like anything other than exactly that. The old folks who were chatting had noticed Rika's presence. Well, isn't it, Rika? It's time for little kids to head on home. This is my home. The old folks guffawed, said she wasn't wrong. From that exchange, I could tell that this Rika Frude girl was loved by everybody. Sorry, hit the wrong button there. Makino, who's that? The tourist you phoned? That's right. This is the mayor of Hinamizawa, Mayor Kimiyoshi. He smiled brightly, but there was no mistaking he'd be scary if he got angry. By the looks of things, this old man was the president of the ODA, none other than Kiichiro Kimiyoshi himself. Welcome to Hinamizawa. What do you think? It's a quiet and relaxing place, isn't it? Yeah, I was able to appreciate a multitude of beautiful places throughout the whole day, and thankful for being granted this rare opportunity. Even though you're one of those young ones, you're quite the gentleman. Kiichiro, I want to show Akasaka a cool place. Thinking that the formalities between myself and the mayor had gone on for too long, Rika butted into the conversation. For her to call the mayor by his first name, felt it was a little strange, but none of the village seemed to mind. Girl of the Frude household, one of the 3 families, she was probably different from the average villager. Akasaka, over here. Rika tugged at my sleeve. She chugged at my sleeve. Yike! Not resisting, I allowed myself to be pulled over, and waiting for me was a magnificent view. This is amazing. It was an observation deck that looked down on the village. They, knowing that this was the best view in the entire village, kept quiet as I stood there awestruck. I was holding a camera, but had completely forgotten to even glance through the viewfinder. This view, no matter what kind of film it was printed on, it wouldn't be able to show everything. If there was a way to explain it, it would only be what I'd be able to put into words. It was just such a breathtakingly spectacular view that I struggled to find a comparison. For a while I was left awestruck. I could only stand there and wonder. It is very pretty. Cool breeze helped abate the heat rushing through my body. That comfortable sensation also left me speechless. Rika, who'd been holding onto my sleeve the entire time, spoke. This is my favourite spot. As she said that, she showed me another adorable smile. That smile seemed very fleeting. If you ask why, that was because the view from my favourite spot would eventually be submerged under the deep green waters of the dam reservoir. I just can't believe that this village is going to end up at the bottom of the lake. Said it quietly so that only Rika could hear it. Regretted it as soon as I did, for those words were all too cruel. However, Rika didn't let them cast a cloud on her expression. In fact, she replied with a smile. It won't sink. The dam project will definitely go away. It was just like a little girl to say something like that. There was no basis for her to say so. It was just her wish. Akasaka, do you think this village will be submerged? It's not that I want it to be. I knew how important the dam was, knew that it was necessary. I just didn't want to recognise the sacrifices that would be made. I agreed with the project in general, but couldn't agree with some of the details. But if it meant that this girl's beloved scenery wouldn't be taken away from her, might be able to object to the dam. Might be able to ignore the interest of the nation, development of Japan, all for the sake of one girl's smile. I'm not really much of a humanist, but how sentimental of me. Rika just has that effect. It won't be submerged, because the dam project will soon go away. Her words weren't just hopes and dreams, but were seasoned with a hint of resolve. as if she was talking about an unchangeably predetermined outcome. Surely as the sun rising in the east. It'll be gone soon? Wanting to ask why she believed that, I turned around. Yes. It'll be gone. What makes you say that? Well, you see... She seemed to want to answer, but as though unable to find the right words, she swallowed back what she was about to say. Regardless of what Akasaka does, the dam project will end this year. It's already been decided. That was a lie. Something like that had already been decided, then the ODA would have no reason to continue existing. From my point of view, it was like they were doing nothing more than throwing themselves into an endless battle. If they knew the dam project was cancelled, it would feel much more relaxed around here. This village, though, could hardly be called relaxed. For evidence of that, I just had to remember how charged the atmosphere was at the checkpoint or at the bus stop. Villagers with their misplaced resolve were still fighting, and this girl, even knowing the villagers' grim resolve, had already declared their victory. Villagers throwing themselves into this endless war, and this optimistic girl who said they'd already won. That contrast was somehow strange. Why do you think that? If you know something that makes you that confident, could you tell me? Rika stayed silent for a while, seemingly choosing what to say. Because? She looked like she was lost on whether she should continue or not, as if she was troubled on whether it was okay for her to say it, that kind of expression. It's already been decided. There's no other way to say it. It's already been decided, huh? Really is just like a little girl to be able to say something like that. Couldn't believe it was actually true. She was the only one saying such things with such confidence. My real mission that I'd forgotten about during this fun-filled day resurfaced at the back of my mind. The kidnapping of the minister's grandson. Had the ODA kidnapped the minister's grandson and already succeeded in negotiating the cancellation of the dam project? Did Kimiyoshi actually already know that and was just playing dumb? Was that what this girl was really telling me? Akasaka. The girl called out my name suddenly. What is it? Go back to Tokyo. Huh? It was no new surprise at that sudden command. Ever since I came to this village, I'd never once mentioned I was from Tokyo. Well, based on my accent, you might have been able to guess where I was from. What was I getting so worked up over? It was probably the sudden and complete change in her demeanour. You should definitely go back to Tokyo right away. If not, you will woefully regret it. The girl had been holding my sleeve the entire time. She had been tugging at my sleeve since hurriedly dragging me over to show me this wonderful view. But this was the adorable Rika, who I'd spent my entire day with. There was no way she could have been replaced with a doppelganger when I wasn't looking. She had been holding onto my sleeve this entire time. But somehow this girl was someone other than Rika. She looked like Rika, but she wasn't. She was some girl I'd never met before. That girl had told me in a different voice that I'd eventually regret coming to this village from the bottom of my heart. That would be an incredibly pathetic thing to see. So I thought I'd warn you right now. Why would I come to regret it? Stop whining. I couldn't believe I was hearing such cold words come from Rika's mouth. I just couldn't believe it. Was somebody impersonating her, using ventriloquism or something? Thinking that, I wanted to take a look around, but the girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move. I really am sorry that I keep dropping frames and cutting out. I hope my voice isn't cutting out. I hope it's just possibly some lag on screen. I don't know what's going on anymore, in general. Girl's gaze had me pinned down, making me unable to move. When you tried crossing the road when the don't walk sign was up, did your parents finish explaining why it was dangerous before pulling you back to the sidewalk? They'd pull you back right away, wouldn't they? They'd pull you back before explaining why it was dangerous, wouldn't they? In other words, it's something like that. The girl I spent time with, Rika Furude, would not speak like that. She would speak with a cuteness befitting her age, with brief childish remarks, expressing her emotions honestly. She definitely wouldn't speak with such pointed words. I've warned you. I want to see what the other... This one's, yeah, the cutest in my opinion. Warned you. Don't get the wrong idea. It's not like I'm saying this because I hate you. You don't need to tell someone who's better off dead that they're in danger. Who are you? You're not Rika. Ah, As soon as I accused her of not being Rika, she let out a strange, quiet giggle. It was a laugh not befitting a child of her age. Kinda fucked up that Rika was possessed the first year, it seems. Felt like she was possessed by something. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Her change was just that totally incomplete. Was Rika being attacked by some terrifying phenomenon? That occult idea came to mind without any sort of hesitation. Rika is acting strange. Somebody help. Thinking that I'd yelled that, I turned to where the mayor was. Immediately realised he was looking at us with a smile. That's right, to him it looked like nothing more than me and Rika fooling around. He didn't notice there was something terrifying happening to her. Akasaka is such a coward. Girl had obviously grasped that I was afraid. Noticing that and called me a coward, she laughed again. Cackling girl, approaching me in a strange manner while still laughing, lost her balance and fell flat on her face. Rika fell down. It was just a while before I would have extended a hand to help her up without hesitation, but now extending a hand to this ominous girl who looked like Rika but wasn't, required a bit more courage than I had at the moment. Meep. Girl cried out thus. She then squirmed upright and dusted herself off. Afterwards, she looked around restlessly as a blank expression crept across her face. Got to be kidding me. Was she making fun of me? Way of acting. It was as though after being possessed by something, she'd lost her memories of what happened. You're joking, right? Rika? Meep. Don't know if Rika had heard me or not. She just cried out like that, as if questioning herself. Hey, mister. Rika too. Tea's ready. There's some snacks too, so please come and have some. An old lady wearing a smock was waving energetically from the entrance of the office. Hearing that there were snacks, Rika's expression changed. Yay! A carefree smile. That was a familiar smile, the one that belonged to the embodiment of my ideal daughter. Any hint at the creepy girl that was just there, spouting sinister words, had vanished. Come on, Rika. Wash your hands first. There aren't any manju here for dirty hands. I'll wash them real good. Eep. Rika responded with vigour, running off to the washing station that was along the side of the office. She stopped halfway, turning around to call to me. If Akasaka doesn't hurry up, I'll eat his share of manju too. They're steaming fresh. Ha ha ha. People who don't wash their hands aren't allowed to eat any manju. No matter how you looked at it, that was Rika. Those words and the way she said them, no matter how you heard them, they were definitely Rika's. Come on now, mister. You're the adult here, so show her how it's done. The old lady urged me to wash my hands. Without any resistance, I lined up beside Rika at the wash station. Splish splash. Splish splash. Crimson flower. To snow attack. I stared at Rika, intent on washing hands properly like she'd probably learnt at school. Good habit to have at the moment. Meep. Did I do something wrong? Huh, by wrong you mean how I'm washing my hands? I only got 4 gold stickers for it. I'm probably bad at washing my hands. You're not doing anything wrong. If you're washing them that carefully, that's more than enough. But it's not, Akasaka. If you don't use a brush and clean out the dirt underneath your fingernails, you won't get a gold sticker. Rika, you're very diligent. That's something to be proud of. Nipa, I was praised by Akasaka. No matter how you looked at it, it was Rika. There was no trace of that girl from before. Exactly what was that sinister girl? Rika, what was the meaning of what just happened? Just now you told me to go back to Tokyo, didn't you? Did I say that? I was at a loss for words. She didn't remember what the girl just now had said. Like I never believed something as occult as that could happen. Like I never believed that Rika could be possessed by that strange girl and say those creepy things. Rika, you definitely said that. Meep. Her expression told me that, despite my saying so, she had no idea. She wasn't playing dumb. She actually didn't know. Exactly what was that just now? Just as Rika had, I let out a look of confusion creep across my face. 2 of us, both looking like we had no idea what was going on, must certainly have been a humorous sight to behold. While partaking of tea and snacks, I was shown a propaganda film shot by the Defence Alliance that highlighted their resistance efforts. Older folks talked passionately on how long and grueling the fight against the dam was, but they fell on deaf ears. I was transfixed by Rika, who had heard these stories countless times before and was nodding off. Eventually, Rika noticed I was staring at her, and smiled as she rubbed her eyes. That smile was Rika's after all. There was no hint of that sinister shadow. After that, my unreasonable fear of Rika lessened with the passing of time, but I could by no means forget what just happened. It eventually grew dark. The mayor said that they'd prepared dinner, but I said that I'd come again tomorrow and took my leave. I had to return to the hotel and file my regular report with the section chief. I see. Well then, please come again tomorrow. If you phone, we'll send someone to pick you up right away. I appreciate your hospitality. I'll probably come again and enjoy myself tomorrow. Yes, please do. Seems that Rika has taken a pretty big liking to you. Akasaka, are you coming again tomorrow? I finished after 5th period, so if you could come at around 3 o'clock, that would make me happy. Please come again. That pure smile urged me to do so. There isn't a trace of that evil aura. Depending on what happened next, all that might end up as nothing other than my hallucination. Thinking about it logically, if the daughter of the Friday household, one of the 3 families, had taken a liking to me, then this was a strong foothold for my investigation from here on out. It's like a free ticket for a reason to visit Hinamizawa. If only I could treat that little incident as a figment of my imagination, then having this girl who was the embodiment of my ideal daughter grow so attached to me wasn't bad either. I successfully dove into the belly of the ODA and had the mayor as well as other important members welcome me with open arms. This was a great turn of events. However, I still felt uneasy. Getting back to the hotel, I forced an almost painfully cold beer until I could clear my mind. The shock from that incomprehensibly strange incident continued to torment me. Dun dun dun. I like that the achievement for this is called the Terrifying Shrine Girl. Sound of the car grew closer, followed by the sound of it braking as the engine cut out. At that moment, his up until now lackadaisical footsteps grew decisively as the man in the room dashed up to the wall beside the windows and carefully peered outside. It was his comrade's car. Even so, he still didn't relax his guard. Eventually, the sound of footsteps approached the door. Thump. Thump, thump, thump. It was the passcode. I'm back. Squeezed out way too much hand cream. Whoops. Ah, you must be tired. Open the door already. Ah, you must be tired. I'm opening it now. After the locks were undone and the door opened, a man appeared, his arms laden with swollen plastic grocery bags. The bags in his hands had 7 Smart written on them, with bread and milk cartons able to be glimpsed within. Contents of those bags were then spread out over a sheet on the floor. I bought some cup noodles, so go boil some water. What's the kid doing? He's been sleeping the entire time. Thank God it's not causing any trouble. He did struggle a bit when he was about to shit himself. Don't let him crap his pants. Suck if it started smelling like an outhouse in here. Yeah, I know. Check the gag every now and then. We don't want it to get loose, so keep it tight. But not so tight that he stops breathing. I said I know. Huh? Did I ask you to pick up another can of gas for the portable stove? We're out. He never asked you, Egypt. Ah, seriously? Come on, work. Damn it. He rattled the portable stove as he struggled to get it to light. Seeing that, the man who went to buy supplies let out a deep sigh. With a backward glance at that sight, began to walk to the corner of the room. Kidnapped boy was sprawled out on a sheet that was spread out on the floor. Boy, you doing okay? Of course the man didn't assume the kid was able to hear that question, because the boy's ears were plugged with his eyes and ears thoroughly covered by packing tape. Also, his mouth was gagged with a thin, twisted up towel. Because of that, the boy was unable to close his mouth properly, his cheeks sticky with his own saliva. Of course that wasn't the only reason. Both his arms were tied behind his back with a leather belt. You seem to be doing okay. At least you're not going to die. If your grandpa wanted to play tough, we might have had to lop off an ear. It'd be great if we don't have to. The main family says we do, though. Tough luck. Can't even imagine what kind of cruel things they'd have us do. Family says not one scratch on him, though, so it seems to be going well for the time being. Minister is discreetly withdrawing the dam project. He now must our dam is indefinitely postponed. Wonder when we're letting the boy go. Just want to be done with this already. Main family seems to be gauging the timing. Don't know when it'll be, but probably soon. Isn't that great, kid? He'll get let go real soon. Men didn't know if their voices were heard by the boy. For him, there was nothing he could do but continue to sleep to escape its harsh reality. More importantly, what are we going to do about the gas? Can't eat the cup noodles raw. Without gas, say something. Jeez. Yikey, yikey, yikes. Yike, yikes. The weather forecast predicted it wouldn't rain at all this entire week. It's not that I hate sunny days or anything. When every day is the same unchanging sunny weather, however, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. Simply clear skies for a week, a month, a year, anybody would long for a rain cloud or two. Weather specialists said they'd carefully scrutinised a large quantity of past data, so it wouldn't be so likely for the forecast to be wrong. I knew as much. But even then, there was occasionally a day where I was hoping it would be wrong as I stared into a clear blue sky. Was I being mischievous and hoping so? I waited and waited, feeling almost suffocated by the boring blue sky and disturbed by a single cloud. If you could die from that suffocating feeling, then the population of Earth probably wouldn't have increased at this point. In other words, the only person who was being suffocated by this was me. And so, I welcome the summer evenings when not even the weather forecast could predict a sudden shower. If I were to explain it like this, would you understand a bit more about how I feel? Let's say that tonight's dinner was going to be curry rice, but when you called down to the dinner table, what was waiting for you was instead an eggplant and bell pepper stir fry. This is just on your mother's whim, by the way. I'd be delighted by such whimsy. Don't really like eggplants or bell peppers, but still I'd be delighted. The fact that the pre-established routine of curry rice had been broken would be amusing. And tonight was repeated 100 times, and 100 times you had to eat curry rice. Yet for just this one night, that was changed to an eggplant and bell pepper stir-fry. There's no way you couldn't enjoy that chance happening. I hate pre-established routines. Really hate when things are all decided on beforehand. I have no love for boredom. I always get my hopes up that something today will be different from yesterday. So that's Maybara's house, but I wonder who this was going to be. I wonder who this narrator is. Been decided this entire week starting today was going to be clear skies. The weather forecast decided upon it, so the god of weather must also feel obliged to do so. Though who's to say that a rain cloud might not just show up one day on a whim? Something that nobody can say for sure, but because of that thought remains in this world, a creature such as myself can continue living without being suffocated. Tomorrow will probably be a hot and clear day. I'm the only one that knows that predetermined fate, even with but a slim 1% chance, sometimes changes. I'm the only one that knows that. I hang upside down with a chance on my son that eavesdrops. In the end, I spend my days waiting for those unexpected things in life to happen. Pondered why I was hoping for it. Why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. I've had my fill of clear skies. Then why was I hoping for a rain cloud? The answer was simple. The fact that it was going to be sunny tomorrow was boring. So why was I hoping for a rain cloud? In the end, it doesn't really matter whether it rains or shines tomorrow. It was just that rain will water my heart, which is withered from boredom. That's why, rather than a TV drama where the plot's already been decided, I prefer to look up at the sky. I do really wonder who that narrator is. Your blood pressure has improved. For you to recover this quickly at your age, I'm rather impressed. At this rate, you'll still be kicking after a couple hundred more years, Oreo. A young doctor in his medical coat said that as he entered the blood pressure card from the arm of the old woman tucked away in her futon. You're a very good physician, Dr. Irie. If a persistent old fart like me doesn't hurry up and die, I'll just be in the way of you young folk. Ho ho! Old Lady Oreo laughed faintly with a broad smile on her face. Then turning towards the sliding door, she called out in a strong voice. Is Shimiko or Taiko there? Bring some tea for Dr. Irie. A sound of rushing footsteps from the hallway drew closer, until finally the door slid slowly open. What it revealed was a young girl, who looked like the old lady's granddaughter. Shimiko already left for the day. Do you need something? Little Mion's so cute too. Not as good as tiny Rika, but still pretty cute. Mion, make some barley tea for Dr. Irie. Okay, got it. Did you want some too, Granny? Or would black tea be better? Want lots of milk and sugar? I'll measure it out myself, so you don't have to put any in. Just bring the sugar jar and some milk when you bring the tea. KK. The girl, named Mion, after giving a rather interested response to a taskmaster of a grandmother, returned to the hallway. Pour the doctor's tea in cups for the guests, and make sure you bring a coaster too. Also, make sure to dry the outside of the glass, okay? Yeah, you're such a fussy pants. A tired voice wafted a reply from down the hallway. The apathetic tone of her voice was far from usual. The old lady let a wry smile slip across her face as she shied at the girl. Jeez, that girl just won't learn. Nothing ever schooled her about sticks. Now, Miss Oreo, you don't have to say that. Mion is doing her best in her own way, even though she's so young. Her mother was the same way. Couldn't teach her anything. The apple doesn't fall far from the tree. So her mother's mother must be exactly the same, no? The old lady burst out laughing. Her expression showed she hadn't taken the comment the wrong way. Dr. Irie, I'm sorry, but could you open the doors for me? Seems there's a nice cool breeze outside. The cool chirping of the Higurashi had at some point started leaking through the gap in the doorway. Irie stood up and opened the door a bit. A refreshing breeze pushed out the stale air that had built up in the room. It's gotten fairly hot during the day, but the evenings are still rather cool, aren't they? It was almost downright chilly last night. Yeah. Sometimes mornings and evenings are another one of Hinamizawa's fine points. Irie replied with a smile as he returned to sit on a cushion beside the old lady. And the two of them for a little while soaked in the voices of the Higurashi. I'm going to try and live to 100. Till the business with the dam is properly finished, I ain't kicking the bucket just yet. To get the government to withdraw a decision they've already made is a fairly difficult thing to do. The way this country does things is like turning a millstone, a heavy one at that. A millstone? Don't you know? A millstone? Oreo quickly affirmed that of course he knew what the old lady was talking about, but he knew full well that Oreo didn't like having the stories interrupted. This millstone, see, can grind anything to a pulp. It's rather impressive, but you see it doesn't turn that easy because it's a rather heavy millstone. Loads of people have to work in unison to get it to even budge. This is that type of millstone. Irie pursed his lips, listening quietly to what she was saying. Eventually, Mion returned with some tea laid out on a tray. Seeing that Oria was talking in a good mood, she quietly knelt down and laid out the sets for the barley and black tea, careful not to interrupt. That's why when it gets going, it's not that easy to stop. It takes the most effort to move it right before it starts turning. Everybody hates that, so everybody keeps pushing it along without rest. You're talking about the friction, right? I get what you're saying. So in other words, if there's some sort of mistake and the millstone suddenly stops turning, to get it turning again takes a great deal of power, more or less. Certainly to get a project that's been suspended going again takes quite a lot of work. It's a millstone that isn't easily stopped, but once it's stopped it'll never turn again. It's that kind of millstone. It'd be nice if there was some way to get that millstone to stop, wouldn't it? When Irie responded with that, Mion and the old lady suddenly sunk into silence. Irie, instinctively thinking he'd said something rude, searched in a small panic for the words to correct himself, but that silence wasn't the result of rude words. For what crept across Mion and the old lady's faces were contemptuous smiles. The atmosphere surrounding Irie suddenly froze, leaving him flabbergasted. Thinking that scornful smiles creeping across both their faces were the result of some mistake of his, he could only grow afraid. It hadn't been that long at all since he was enveloped by silence. However, unable to stand it, Irie could only let out a weak laugh. Irie's laugh eventually spread to Mion and the old lady. Not knowing exactly what they were laughing at, their laughter left a lingering chill. The only ones not laughing were the Higurashi, who continued their simple and unchanging chorus. Well, folks, I think that about ends it for us today with that dramatic ending. I'm going to try and do 2 chapters at a game and then it'll be an extra long stream when I finish this, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. But for now, I believe it is best to end things off here. It's a nice dramatic cliffhanger to finish on. Thank you for coming along, Pixie. Take care of yourself. You too, Pix. Say hi to everyone for me, and give them all a hug from me. Very important. So I will be streaming Dishonored 2 this Saturday, where we will be investigating Aramis Stilton's manor. Then on Sunday it'll be Destiny 2, where we're going to be starting Shadowkeep at long last. Aww, thank you, Pix. Next Tuesday will be Final Fantasy XIV, where we will be continuing the story of Shadowbringers on our shard. Also, there is a new event out, which I think I may have done on Maeve, but I can't remember. So either way, we're going to do that on our shard. If I have done it on Maeve, I'll do it in my own time, but I definitely haven't done it on our shard, so we'll do that on him. In a little completely non-canonical break in the story of Shadowbringers, where he can actually go home and basically pretend it doesn't happen. But most of the time I did get up to level 80 today, so no more level locking, so we'll be pressing on ahead with the completion of the dirt robot. And then next Thursday will be more Himatsubushi, I got the name right this time around, where we will continue to investigate the mysterious Hinamizawa. So take care, everybody, have a wonderful evening, do look after yourselves. I'm going to go have another glass of water because my voice is starting to go from reading a lot, and I shall see you guys on Saturday.